episode 200. This is the 200th episode of Mcrae Live. The date today is Thursday, October the 14th, 2021, 12:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are talking Halloween Kills. I've seen it. I saw it last night at an advanced screening. I'm going to give you my non-spoiler thoughts. This is going to be interesting, folks. If you have not seen the movie and you are spoiler sensitive, get the hell out of here now because I don't want to hear about it later. I love you. I really do. But the threshold of what a spoiler is and isn't is very different from one person to the next. Just because I tell you Michael walked through a bedroom doesn't mean I've spoiled the movie for you. So just be mindful of that. We are going to talk some things here that you may or may not find it spoilery. And I have a guest on the show today, which I'm very excited to have on. It is Luis Lecca from the Nerd Report. Luis, it is great to have you here. We met in 2018 at the Myers house. We went and saw the 2018 film the day before it released to the public at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. You were kind enough to invite me to watch it. You watched Halloween Kills a few days ago, and you were not crazy. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. Luis, thank you for being here, and I just realized I don't have my light on.
Well, I'm assuming people could hear me, and I mean, like Dave Mcrae, adding to what Dave said, if you think Michael's a good stalker, you haven't seen anything yet. I stalked the hell out of Dave in 2018 because I'm a big fan of his. His coverage is awesome. He's very intellectual. He knows his stuff, man. So I'm a fan. I'm honored that you have me here for your 200th show. I can't believe I'm here, bro. I mean, thank you very much for trusting me on this very important episode, man. I hope I don't mess it up. I'm kind of nervous.
Oh, whatever.
Honestly.
No, I appreciate you being here. I've wanted to get you on for a while. And for those of you that don't know Luis works in the industry in Los Angeles. He covers Hollywood. He covers pop culture. He does the press junkets. He interviews the celebrities. He goes to the press screenings. He's somebody that knows his shit. So he is connected there. He is connected there. He knows his shit. So he's not just some guy some guy. So I just want to let you guys know that. I wouldn't have had Luis on otherwise. Luis, yeah, tell us a bit about who you are and what goes down there in the world of Nerd Report with Luis in LA.
Okay, so we're pretty much two sites, nukethefridge.com and Nerd Report is mostly what we do YouTube, but it is also a website because, like all good people with ADD, we do a lot of things, or I do a lot of things at once. So yeah, Nuke the Fridge. It's a spoof off Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Indiana Jones gets in the refrigerator to, not avoid getting killed by a nuclear bomb. It's also in the original script for Back to the Future.
That's true.
When originally it was going to be a refrigerator, time-traveling refrigerator that you have to nuke. Yes, that is right, ladies and gentlemen. Look it up. Nerd Report, we just, and Nuke the Fridge, I do most of the, how would I say, formal interviews with, John Wick or whatever, or Keanu Reeves or Jason Momoa. So you see that there on that channel and that site. Nerd Report, just, I let my hair down.
Right.
Get the joke?
It's so down, it's gone.
Yeah, and it's on my beard. And then go live and just have a good time and hang with everyone. And, I love it, man. So that's pretty much what I do. And I'm constantly learning from YouTubers, regardless. People look at my channel and they go, man, you're hanging out with Keanu Reeves. It's like, yeah, but I get starstruck with Dave Mcrae.
You get starstruck with me. Hang on a sec. I gotta build. Hang on. You guys. There it is.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So this is a non-spoiler review and thoughts and discussion on Halloween Kills. And so Luis, you saw it the other day. I saw it last night with my buddy Bruce at an advanced screening here in Toronto. And I think that there are some people, I mean, I know, and I didn't watch anybody's review. I mean, this morning I watched what Cody Leach had to say. I watched what you had to say. I watched what Lee McCoy over at Drum Dums had to say. I watched what Cecil Laird and his crew of The Horror Show had to say. But I didn't watch anybody's until after I'd seen the movie, because naturally I don't want to be, I mean, I'm pretty strong that way, but we all have unconscious biases and things like that. And I didn't want to be influenced by what anybody was saying. So I sent out those tweets last night, and I went live from Dundas Square here in Toronto before knowing what anybody else in our space thought of it. So because I wanted to give my first impression genuine thoughts. And I think some people were surprised, maybe in our space, and I know that you were, because you were telling me before we went live, by my tweets, because you were not a big fan of this movie. Cody Leach was not a big fan of this movie. The Horror Show was not a big fan of this movie. I believe Lee McCoy really enjoyed it, but I know some people like yourself were probably reading my tweets going, the Halloween purist likes this movie? What the fuck is going on? But there's a specific, and again, this is first watch. Okay, I've yet to watch it on Peacock. I've yet to watch it more than once, right? This is first watch, my first impressions. But I think there's a specific reason why I was able to enjoy this movie, enjoy the experience of watching the movie, maybe over some others. I don't know, but there's a reason for it. But before I dive into that, Luis, tell me what you thought, non-spoilers, of course, but tell me what you thought of this movie when you walked out of the theater.
Well, at the end, I'm just kidding. I'm not spoiling it.
At the end,
well,
when
look, yeah, look, first of all, I want to say, and I talked to you a little bit about this before the show started. Everyone who loves Halloween, everyone who loves movies, go out and watch it. Go out and watch it in the theater. We've been through this 2 years of crap. And look, I had a blast being there. All right. Regardless of what I think, I had a blast leading up. I had a blast hanging out with my friends. As far as the film's concerned, I feel Blumhouse was the perfect choice to reboot the Halloween series, because I felt the way they ran their company is like, we are low budgeted indie film horror. And that's exactly what I thought Halloween, the series, was going to be in 2018.
Right.
But it really feels like they stepped it up to corporate with the Halloween series. And I feel like the 2018 was very by the numbers, like, remember this, remember that, remember this. And I feel that continues in this film. It's, hey, forget about part 2, which I was introduced to, I was going to say Star Wars, but Halloween 2 first, then I went to 1. Forget about that. We have something better. We have John Carpenter in our corner. Right. We have a better story. We have a different story, because the way it went south, right? Quick, like you say, it's a one-off, right? But we have an idea, and I feel like they don't. I feel like it's a lot of winks to the camera. It's a lot of reliance. It's some of the stuff is borderline retcon. And that's my beef with it initially. You're not giving me anything better. You're telling me to forget about what the fan. I'm actually shocked a lot of horror fans accept this, because you're telling me to forget about something that's beloved, but you're giving me, because they have something better, but you're giving me the same thing you're taking from them. Right. That's just my thing.
One of the things that I noticed that you had a complaint with was the editing of the film, and you felt that the editing was a mess. Explain that to me.
Well, actually, that's a good question. And I wanted to ask you, because I felt like with you as a movie maker, right? Isn't editing the longest process, the most important process? Your film is made or broken on the editing floor or whatever. So I'm thinking, with the pandemic, you had more time. Why is this film all over the place? Why is it like kind of at the point, especially towards the end, incoherent, in my opinion? But also, a lot of people leaving the theater where I was were like, dude, it's all over the place. I don't know where I'm at. Right. So why didn't they, Dave? I'm going to ask you right now. Yeah. The more time you have in the editing room, isn't that better for a coherent film to make? And your editing is really important, right?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to hit the record button here because I'll go into my thoughts and why I felt this, and I'm going to hit the record button because I may put this up as a standalone.
You got it.
Piece outside of this, which I've never done before. I might be getting into doing that. So anyway, let me just hit record here, and we are recording now. Hey, this is my first time. Hey, what's going on? So here's the thing. So. This is, yes, I'm a Halloween purist. And what that means is that I appreciate the original Halloween, its intention. The original Halloween was supposed to be a one-off film. Sure, they made the subsequent sequels, but I really appreciate and love when we do our best to try and preserve the integrity of the enigma, the mystique of the original film. Everything from Michael Myers to the cinematography, to the mood, the atmosphere, the lighting. For me, it's like a 90-minute Hitchcockian Twilight Zone episode, and that's almost what it was supposed to be. And I've often said that Michael's gone at the end of the movie not to set up a sequel, but to bring the moral, the message of the movie home. That was the whole thing. That is the end of the movie. You can't kill the boogeyman. So I'm a Halloween purist, and every time I watch the subsequent sequels or watch a new iteration of a Halloween film, I am always automatically, even when I try not to, am looking for that. I'm paying attention to the visual aesthetic, the lens choices, the camera movement, the lighting, the mood, the atmosphere, because that is just as much of a character within Halloween as the house or Michael or Dr. Loomis, and arguably could be the most important character of all. And when that was removed, in my opinion, was removed from the H-18 film. I've always said that Halloween 18 is not a bad horror movie. It's just not a very good Halloween movie. And I've often said that because of there were a lot of warm tungsten sort of lighting. We saw him a lot. The film, in my estimation, was largely void of any real suspense or stalking or lurking. There's little bits here and there. But overall, I walked out of the 18 film from TIFF at the world premiere feeling disappointed. I was disappointed. I don't hate the movie. I just was disappointed. I think it needed more. So over the last 3 years, I've been tempering my expectations. If you followed me for any length of time, you know that I've been telling people, depending on whether you like this new Halloween film or not, will probably largely depend on what you want from your Halloween film. And I went into this really doing my best to put my expectations aside. I know the probability is high that there's probably going to be things in there that doesn't jive with me that I don't like. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. For those of you that watch me, you know I've said it. I'm going to treat this like I'm going on a ride. Like it's a ride at Disney World or a ride at Universal or whatever. It's just a ride. And when you're on a ride, you're not overthinking it. You're not over intellectualizing it. You're just sort of enjoying as it comes. That was because it's a ride, and so you're a little forgiving because it's a ride. And I felt that I needed to do that going into this movie to enjoy the film on some sort of level. And then if there's things that surprise me, I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's really cool. Okay. And then maybe I enjoyed a little bit more. Everything that you've said and that Cody said and that Cecil has said, you're not wrong. I did notice those things, the certain sort of pacing of the movie, the overselling of certain lines, a bit of the overuse of the, evil dies tonight. Some of it felt like it was a bit wonky in certain areas in relation to the character development or lack thereof. Some characters felt completely unutilized. That's not wrong. I did notice that when I was seeing it. But I think what they did well, at least way better than what came before in H-18, which was they changed the tone and the aesthetic to match more of a Halloween feel in comparison to the 2018 film. So Gone were largely the tungsten warm. I mean, you still had that inside when you have a lamp, of course. But in terms of the way it looked and the feeling and all that kind of stuff, I felt like I was on that ride. I felt like, wow, they're doing a really good job. Like I'm at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal or something. You know what I mean? Like it felt very like I'm really enjoying watching this. And I thought the flashback was really well done. I thought the attention to detail in terms of the Myers house and that thing that broke the window. This is not spoiler for some people, but you know what I'm saying. The attention to detail at the Myers house and the way things looked from the set deck and the design and the cop outfits and everything, it felt like I was in 1978. It felt like an extension of that night. And because the movie essentially begins with that, that's not a spoiler, immediately it gets people like me and Halloween purists, because that's what we love, kind of you're into it immediately because there's this, you know, this flashback, right? And I think they did a tremendous job with it. There's a few things I'll talk about in the spoiler review and the flashback that I didn't like, but overall I appreciated it. I appreciated the tonal shift, which allowed me to appreciate the nuance of what they were trying to do. And there are, in my opinion, a few moments in this film of genuine suspense, not theater of the mind suspense, not slow burn, like really, you know, wild Carpenter. No. I mean, obviously it's modernized, but there's a few moments where you're like, and there's that moment where there's that person hiding in the such and such, you know, and Myers is there searching for them and he's looking around and I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is actually kind of tense. Like this is, I feel suspense here. They're drawing this out. I didn't get that in 18. And you get that with the way things look in terms of the aesthetic and the light and shadow and the moon coming in. I'm like, I really appreciate what they're trying to do here. They've clearly made a switch, and it feels more like Halloween than 18 did for me. So I think that's why. And every time something would come up in terms of what you guys were talking about, I was like, oh, I'll just put that in the back for now, you know, because I just want to enjoy this for what it is. So I had fun watching this for what it was, what it was giving a purist like me. But that doesn't mean that I didn't recognize or it's completely oblivious to some of the issues that people are talking about. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to people in the chat rooms? Kind of how I think it really comes down to the real tempering of expectations and going in and just kind of taking it as is. Does that make sense at all?
Long story short, Dave, I think you saw the 2018 one. As time went by, you didn't like it as much. Your expectations went low, and this met your expectations. Because for the 2018, we had a lot of promises, man. I mean,
for sure, it's not a bad film. It's actually, I think it's probably structure wise, pacing wise, it's better than Halloween Kills.
Yes.
I think for that, yes, I agree. And again, there's some nice things they've set up there. But for me, that tone and that mood and the way things look is so important. Of course, story, as we know, is the most important thing. But there just wasn't that there. You know, I mean, if 18 had real genuine moments of suspense and the tonal aesthetic of Kills, geez, you know, I mean,
I feel like the reason the 18 one made all that cash was because we were promised the 1978 film style, 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like what we get out of that style in this film, I want to see that movie.
Right.
I really do. And I don't know if it takes care of your hunger for it or you know, you're going to be thirsty for more of that. And I will say that was dope. That was really cool. You know, it's not all doom and gloom with this film for me, but I gotta say, like, I would say like the first act, like there, I was, yeah, this is pretty good. So I'm having a good time until, you know, there's a spoiler we discussed before the show.
Yeah.
It just went woo woo. Like, it did like a Tron bike to me. It went woo, like,
yeah,
whoa.
And I know what you're talking about. There is a moment in the film that feels sort of like a sidestep to just kind of not quite Sartain sidestep, not quite that, but it feels like there's a bit of a sidestep where, and I recognize it as I'm watching it. I mean, the things that I'm like, oh, that's kind of they're not going over my head. I recognize it, and I thought, well, this is kind of unnecessary. I don't think it's necessary to have this in it at all. I don't think it's needed. You know, and then the film, you know, this is not a spoiler, folks. The film ends on a cliffhanger. There is going to be another movie, and it does end in a similar way that feels kind of abrupt, like very much like the 18 film did, where it felt like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay, you know. and so there's that.
And I wanted to add something to that, Dave.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the ending that much.
I didn't.
No, I didn't mind the ending. I feel the first one though. This one does definitely end more abruptly than the first one, or the 2018 part 2, whatever.
Right.
But I feel that the first one was more of a complete film. It could have ended there.
It could have
in the fire. That's it. He's done.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. This one was abruptly. There was a dumb character choice there, in my opinion, before it ended. But
but we don't know. We don't know if that person is. We didn't see much of. I mean, it's alluded, but we don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about, really, but because we don't want to keep it spoiler free. But I'm looking forward. Yeah.
No, okay. It's and so I left the theater and here it is, the Halloween purist, Mr. Mood and Atmosphere, Mr. Theater of the Mind, Mr. Nuance walks out, and I'm sure people are like, what the fuck is Mcrae talking about? But it really has to do with that tempering of expectations and knowing I'm not going to get it. So why would I go in expecting it when I know that it's 2021? I understand how the industry works. I understand that they have to, at the very least, do their best to appease hardcore fans, sure, but we're going to be there day one no matter what. Yeah. And they have to appease modern audiences, the general movie going. That's why you see a lot of things in trailers, is because that's not for us. That's for people who don't know there's a Halloween movie coming. It's for people who are sitting on the fence to get their asses into the theater. And they need to do that more now than ever because of streaming. And so, I knew that this is a modern horror movie. This is Halloween Kills. This is blood, guts, and gore and mayhem and carnage. It would be just silly for the purist to walk into the theater going, well, they didn't have enough of this. They didn't have, but
man, I gotta say, I think the reason the first film made that much money is because people are wanting the purist stuff. I think the purist Halloween style makes a lot of money. I think the general audience will attend that, and it will keep the original fans happy, actually, because look, what's everyone talking about? You know what people are talking about?
Oh, yes.
Flashback.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's what everybody came out of the theater, even people that it's their first time Halloween movie. They're like, oh my God. Like everyone in the theater was like, and this is press I was watching with. So they're like, they're like dead as a log most of the time. Yeah. So they were like, oh, So I have a feeling they were young crowd, some of them in their early 20s.
Right.
So they probably didn't experience it theatrically or when it originally was released. So I feel that you could create a Halloween movie purely for you and everyone watching right here and still make very good money. I think.
And I think you're right. And there's evidence to suggest that for sure.
Yeah.
The studios don't want to take that risk, obviously, because, of what the pattern of what shows that actually sells. But I think you're right. I think you could, and I think it would do well. But, to your point, Halloween 18, overperformed. And it made $76 million opening weekend, and it made 254 or something million worldwide, the highest grossing slasher in movie history. Not because it is a phenomenal piece of cinema, but because of the hype around it, the nostalgia, and the expectations were huge, were high. It overperformed. I think Halloween Kills is tracking for a 35 to 40 million opening weekend. I predicted 25 to 35, so I'm in that ballpark. I think that's what it's tracking. It may make more. But Kills is but you're not wrong. And again, I don't hate the 18 film. I never have. Even in my epic Halloween 18 review, I gave it, I think, a C+ or something. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think it's a competently made, good modern day horror film. But as the purist, there was just so much of what they did try to give us in Kills that wasn't in 18. And for me, I didn't feel the suspense. I didn't feel the lurking and the stalking. In Kills, yes, it's not Carpenter level Halloween 78 shit, but it clearly there is more of that. Like I said, there's that great scene with that somebody who's hiding in the something and he's trying to find. Yeah. That's a great moment. It looks good too. And there's genuine suspense there. And you just hear like his breathing. It's like, that's really well done. There's a couple of moments inside some homes where it's like, this this is some genuine suspense here. Like, this is really good. You know, it's not like, you know, Kubrick or anything like that, but it doesn't need to be.
And I don't want to disrupt your flow, but
no, go ahead.
As far as the gore is concerned and seeing a little more, you know, because I've noticed with your show, you're big on seeing the crime or seeing what happened and not actually seeing the action that led to that.
Right.
The dead person, you know,
yes.
You don't see the struggle or whatever.
Right.
I think we did see more struggle here.
Oh,
and I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it.
I didn't either because I
didn't mind it.
Yes, exactly, Louis, because I knew going in, that's what I didn't know what I was going to get in H18. And I realized that they were walking that line in H18. There was that balance, right? Where it's like, well, we're going to give a little theater of the mind, but we have to show this like jaw to the side or, you know, Dave on a wall or whatever it is, because we got to show something for the fans that want that. But I really appreciated the not seeing his process, and you just walk in and you see a dead body and you're like, holy fuck, what the hell happened here? But I knew we weren't going to get that in Kills, which leads me to the kills, which is a good thing to talk about here. As a purist, I'm still recording this, by the way. It's 15 minutes, but we're talking about how I feel about it as a purist. I will say that the body count, yes, it's blood, it's guts and gore, it's high for a Halloween film, but I actually expected more with how they were hyping everything up and how it was like, this is like, what's gonna be fucking, I was like, all right, here we go. and it didn't not deliver, but it didn't deliver on that to the degree of the hype. I walked out of there going, well, it was just like watching a Friday the 13th movie as a Halloween movie, in the sense of like the level. And that's not throwing shade. I mean, it's very well done. The effects are great. The body count's high. The gore is there. The blood is there. But I guess with how they were hyping it up, I was expecting like next level shit. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't feel that way. What about you?
I agree with you 100%. What I and that actually turned me off with when they were saying that. And I had a lot of Rotten Tomato critics saying the exact same thing. This is super brutal. It's John Wick meets Michael Myers like John Wick here. Yeah, I didn't get that at all. Maybe because they're new to horror movies or something like that. But I think that kind of worked for me. Seeing a little bit more. I guess they have to change it. Yeah. As they move forward, they can't be too much like the OG where you don't really see much of stuff. But yeah, that surprisingly that did not bother me. There were a few effects that were kind of whack, I thought, with that, like the with the kills that were a little I don't know, that looks kind of fake, right? It's too over the top. I got you, but I agree with you with that 100%.
Yeah.
It wasn't that gory.
No, it was. I mean, it was gory. It wasn't
Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie tends to do gore for the sake of gore. This kind of more made sense.
But I wouldn't say. Sorry, Louis, it's the delay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say, I just want to make it clear. I don't consider Rob Zombie movies Halloween.
Right.
I want to get that out of the way.
Nor do I. Right. I got you.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I didn't think it was any gorier than a Rob Zombie film. Like, it's gory for a Halloween film, I guess, and it's certainly gorier than the 2018 film. But I guess I was expecting more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, in terms of what we actually got. Maybe it's a good thing that it was a little more nuanced than maybe what I was expecting. I was in there ready to just, like Terrifier or something like that. Terrifier is way gorier.
But the death of Judith Myers, man, in the first one, oh my God, that is pretty gory.
Oh, the Rob Zombie film?
No, the real one.
Oh, the first Halloween. Well, for its time.
Dude, I don't know, man. I think that stands the test of time, man.
Well,
he's puncturing boobs there, man.
He is. Save boobs. Save boobs. All right, I will stop this recording and just All right, there you go. Stop that recording.
Sorry, it went a little south.
No. It's perfectly fine. So what? Okay, so let's talk about. So people know that yes, the Halloween purist Dave Mcrae liked the movie. Now remember, that's first watch, right? So you got to remember, I'm not giving it a glowing review. I'm not saying it's incredible. I'm just saying that there's a reason why I like this movie. And the things you're hearing from the negative reviews, either from Lewis or Cecil or Cody or Rotten Tomatoes or what have you, there's a lot, I will tell you, and you know I'm not going to bullshit you guys. I'm going to be honest. There are a lot of things that these people are saying that is true. Now, you might not agree with it. It might not bother you. You may notice it, whatever the case is. Or maybe you're just like, fuck that, whatever, and you watch it 100 times and it doesn't bother you. But for me, in my estimation, I did notice these things that these people are talking about. But I really believe it's because I didn't have, I really tempered those expectations, that I was able to enjoy the ride and appreciate the tonal shift in aesthetic. And that includes the flashback and the rest of the movie. Now, having said that, let's talk about characters and let's talk about script, story, and structure. Lewis, no spoilers, but talk to me.
The structure, I mean, I think it goes hand in hand with the editing and the storytelling in a bit, because there's a lot of story with a lot of different people. A lot of the cast is large. I do look, I'm going to sound more positive here than I did in my review. I'm going to tell you, but I do appreciate the studio bringing back all the old school people, because it shows that they wanted to do something special here, because no one has brought back all those characters yet. I mean, The nurse was back before and stuff like that for H2O and stuff like that, but they did. That shows me that they cared, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But who got flushed out? Whose movie is this?
Yeah.
I feel that it was the sheriff's movie. Honestly, who's the main character, Dave? I don't know who the main character is here.
I don't think the film has a main. Well, the main character is Michael Myers, I think, in this film.
Well, he's,
you know,
correct.
I mean, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question, though. I feel like in the first film, Laurie's kind of the main character.
Oh, she is. H-18?
Yes.
Oh, that's Laurie's film. That's Laurie's
78.
film.
78, right?
78. No, I was thinking H-18. But it is in 78 as well. Sure. She I mean, she would be the main protagonist if you had to point to one. Yeah. Yeah. We are watching the film through her eyes, essentially. Mm-hmm. You know,
there were a lot. The cast is large. Let me
a
tell
large
you that.
cast.
And not everyone was flushed out correctly. You could
that
pick
is
and
true.
choose who was the best one there.
That is true.
And stuff. What was the name of man? The sheriff's name skips me right now. But
Barker,
I feel he was
Sheriff Barker.
Hawkins. I feel was his movie.
Hawkins. Oh no, he's that's not the sheriff. That's he's just a deputy.
Oh, deputy. Sorry, but yeah. So I feel like he was.
By the way, Hawkins being in it's not a spoiler, folks. That's out there. You know that.
Well, he's on. Was it Hawkins? I'm just looking at IMDb. Yeah. So he's in the trailer. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was a lot of him. You know.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, no, you're right. And those that are saying that the flashback is not just a flashback for nostalgic purposes, it does actually tie into the larger story going on in present day is true. It doesn't feel shoehorned in or just, hey, let's play in this sandbox and have some fun with some lighting. No, it actually does. And I was really pleasantly surprised with the flashback. I like I said, when you play in that sandbox, it can go south pretty quick. But I think they handled it with care. They handled it with class. So bravo to them. I'm very impressed. For me, the story is, well, there's not much of a story. I mean, the story is essentially the town of Haddonfield rising up to take out Michael Myers, right? But the hospital, the jumping back and forth, there's some of the editing and some of the structure that feels a little wonky, you know, kind of like I'm being pulled here and then pulled there and then pulled here. I did feel like there might have been a pacing issue, but I got to watch it again, you know, but it doesn't surprise me that that's what I'm hearing. I thought some of I think they did overuse the line "Evil dies tonight." Some of the lines, some of the lines.
Everyone's saying that.
No, everybody is, and it's true. Like I think it felt, some of the stuff felt a little overselling. There's a couple of lines from Curtis that felt a little. Do you remember in H2O when at the beginning of Halloween H2O, when Laurie's having that dream, right? And it's this overhead shot of her waking up and she's screaming. Do you remember that? Right?
Yeah.
And I saw H2O in the theater back in 98, and I remember thinking this then. I remember thinking this then in the theater. So this isn't like a retrospect. I've always thought this. And this is just my opinion. I don't buy her scream. And I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I think she's a tremendous actress. I adore her. But for whatever it is, that scream, she was like, ah! Like it kind of played out like this. Ah! Ah! Like there was a conscious stop to start. It was like, ah! I don't know. It was just the way there was like a break, and it kind of felt a little like I didn't believe it. There were a few lines, one in particular, which I won't say, but there's a few lines in this movie where it felt like she was overselling a bit. Like the structure of the scene, when there's chemistry between actors, there's an ebb and flow, and, you know, acting is reacting, right? And, you know, when you have a great dance partner and you're able to, maybe they didn't have a lot of rehearsal time. That's always a thing too, for those of you that don't know out there. Generally speaking, on film sets, there will be moments where there's rehearsals and you get to rehearse a few times before you shoot a scene. And sometimes that can help to sort of iron out any kinks in terms of the flow or the dialogue. And that gives the director the opportunity to kind of, you know, test some things out and test the performance out. And it gives you an opportunity to, you know, as the actor, to kind of run through it a few times before you actually do it for camera. And I don't know how much rehearsal time they had on this. It was a quick shoot. There was a lot to get done. I remember hearing that. But it felt, there was just a couple of moments with Laurie in the hospital where it felt a little, I just didn't believe it. It felt a little, dare I say, cringy maybe? And I did notice that. It's not, I'm not throwing shade. Making movies is fucking hard. Okay? It's really, really hard.
You made It's Me, Billy. It looked like it was pretty easy for you. You did a great job with that, man.
I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
You made it look like it.
But I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. It certainly wasn't easy. But speaking from that perspective, like it's not easy. And my hat goes off to them. And but there's just certain moments, if I'm looking at it objectively as a fan, because I'm looking at it as a fan as well as a filmmaker, but as a fan, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I believe her saying that, or it seems like, why is she having this conversation, or what's the character's motivation for this, or, you know, there was a bit of that in there. I think maybe it was too much. Maybe there was just too much going on for the story. Maybe if the film had been 2 hours, maybe an extra 20 minutes or so or something, maybe that would have helped to flesh out a bit, or maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I got to watch it again, right? Because my first time watching it, I was watching it from a certain point of view. Yeah. So I need to watch it again to pick up on more of those things, which I'll be able to dive into a spoiler review. But definitely, yeah, the certain lines, certain pacing, that moment that we talked about where there's a bit of that sidestep and you're like, why are we going over here? Like, I don't understand this. That definitely stood out to me. And a bit of the bouncing back and forth, I guess.
I don't know. This isn't really exposition, bro. That was way too much.
There was a lot of exposition.
And I felt like they were like, the characters were sometimes explaining what we were looking at. Come on, bro.
Right. Like, okay. So there's a line. I'll give you an example. You are correct on that. And this is not a spoiler because this is in the TV spots.
And we're not telling you what they're explaining either, so it's not really a spoiler.
No, well, I'm about to actually, but it's in the TV spot, so it's not a spoiler. Like, as far as I know, if it's in the fucking spoiler, or if it's in a TV spot and it's out there, like, you know, come on. Or actually, no, excuse me, it wasn't a TV spot, it was in a clip. It was a clip they released. And it's the clip when Tommy Doyle runs into the hospital to see Laurie, right? And he promises Laurie that, you know, listen, 40 years ago you protected me, and I'm gonna, and I'm sitting there thinking, you don't need to say 40 years ago. She would know that. You just can come in and say, listen, I'm gonna, because this is the first, like, they haven't seen each other in, I don't even know how long. I mean, do they know each other? Do they not know each other? Is this the first time? This is okay. So here's what I did notice. It's coming to my conscious mind now. In The Last Jedi. Star Wars fans are leaving the chat room. In The Last Jedi, or Last Jedi fans are leaving. I felt that there wasn't, like when you're playing with legacy characters and you're playing with nostalgia, I think it is so important as a storyteller to write a story that allows breathing room for these characters to have an emotional reunion. I don't mean crying. I mean, there's an emotional connection that the audience makes with the characters on screen. Do you follow me, Lewis?
Yes.
So it's like this thing where it's like in The Last Jedi, when Luke and Leia met up again before Luke walked out to, face Kylo Ren. I didn't feel anything. He just suddenly showed up out of nowhere. Like, I know he actually wasn't there and he, whatever. But I'm just saying, I didn't feel much. He just suddenly appeared there. There was no real kind of like moment, There was no moment.
Build up.
Yeah, there was just like, I like it when we see people who haven't seen each other for the first. There just wasn't. So when Tommy breaks into the hospital room and starts talking to her, I remember thinking to myself, is this the first time they've seen each other in 40 years? Or did they have lunch 6 weeks ago? Like, I don't know. Like, as an audience, should I be like, wow, there's Laurie and Tommy meeting each other for the first time in 40 years? Or is this moment not a big deal? It's because they had lunch 6 weeks ago. They've had lunch 6 weeks. They've had lunch 8 times this year. Like, is it not a big deal? I don't know. And I know that, like, I can't remember if in the dialogue that in the bar scene when Tommy's talking about all this, I can't remember maybe if that was explained. Again, I've only seen the movie once. But there were a lot of subpar reunions in this film that as a audience member, I didn't feel really attached to.
No.
I wanted to see more of that breathing room so I could revel in that nostalgia of them seeing each other for the first time in 40 years. And there's like an exchange, there's a look, there's a moment, there's silence, I wanted to see more of that. Now, you don't want to overdo it because then it just becomes really, overdone. But there's also, did you know, and I don't want to give any spoilers because I want people to experience this themselves. There's a certain character that you would have expected to have an in-person reunion. At least from what I remember, I don't think they did. There was a certain character that you would have expected to have an in-person reunion with another character, and they didn't. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There was a certain character that you would have expected to have an in-person reunion with another character, and I don't remember them actually talking to each other. And I was like, wow, missed opportunity.
You're going to have to... I'll message me that.
Yeah, I'll message it to you right now. I'll message you right now on Twitter. Do you have Twitter?
Or you can message me on Zoom right here.
Can I on Zoom? Oh, yeah, I can do that.
There's a little chat.
Oh, there's a chat.
One other thing, Dave, I mean, kind of like building up on that. What's up with Haddonfield? Is it a large community? Is it small? Or, I mean, I don't know what Haddonfield is at this point. And it is, it does go back to what you're telling me is like, did they interact within those 40 years?
Right.
By accident, maybe going to the store. Hey, Lori, that's Lori over there.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. Haddonfield, in my opinion, back in 78 and even the real part 2, now I'm going to call it. Yeah. And even in part 4 had a personality. Like, it was part of the Haddonfield has a personality. It's a fake place created for this film. It's known for Halloween. It's a character in itself. And here, I don't really get what's going on. What is Haddonfield now? I don't get it. And I gotta, on that note, what is up? I do not like, it looks like it was filmed in a soundstage.
Well,
the old Haddonfield had atmosphere, wind, leaves falling. People make noises outside. They look out the window. What's going on? Then they shut the drapes. They look out the, I didn't get any of that.
I didn't. Okay, well, to your point, the Myers house was reconstructed on a soundstage, so that it does look a little. Even Bruce said that on our walk back to Dundas Square after the movie was done. He did. He said I did notice, but it's not a. to him, and even to me, it's not a bad thing. It looks maybe a little backlot-ish, you know what I mean? Or
Correct.
studio-ish. But for me, at least on first watch, this is first watch, folks, I didn't mind it. I was like, no, maybe because I knew. But I think they did a really good job. Listen, if I could make a movie that had their money to build the Myers house on a backlot or a sound stage and deliver that quality, I'd be happy. I mean, I'd be like, oh, this is great. You know what I mean? But yes, there definitely is that. Whereas when they're driving around the town in Carolina there, where it was actually shot, you get more of that outside sort of feel, more of that authentic feel. So there was a little bit of that. I sent you the chat. Did you?
Yeah, that's my agreement. I'm sorry, my response.
Okay, so you agree that those two characters never actually spoke to each other in person? I don't remember them speaking to each other in person at all.
Okay. There's a lot of parallel. I don't want to sound so bitter, man. There's a lot of parallels between these three films and Disney Star Wars. There's a lot. The 2018 was kind of like a soft reboot of the entire franchise.
Right.
You technically don't need to watch 1978 to enjoy, the 2018 one.
Right.
Same thing goes with The Force Awakens. There's a parallel.
I adored The Force Awakens. I still do.
I did like The Force Awakens. Yeah. I'm
a Force Awakens defender.
But it's kind of works like a soft reboot.
Oh, of course it does. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's dropping of the balls. Like, I don't know
but I got to admit, still to this day, and my audience knows this, still to this day, The Last Jedi is the single most disappointing movie-going experience of my entire life. Still to this day.
Am I too old that you don't remember The Phantom Menace, brother?
I remember The Phantom. Well, no, but I remember it very well. I went to the theater to see it. I was, what was I in 99, 20? I remember it very well. But The Last Jedi was the single most disappointing movie-going experience of my entire life. I can't say that with Halloween Kills. I left Halloween Kills having had a good time, a fun time watching this, but it's all about expectations. The one thing I can point to that we can quantify and measure why a purist like me, suddenly is like, had a good time watching a movie that is largely anything but purist, kind of centric, is really because of expectations. It goes to show you that it really does, or at least it can work. With The Phantom Menace, my expectations were high. With The Last Jedi, my expectations are through the fucking roof. My God, I was like, holy shit. And I went in, and it wasn't 40-year-old fanboy expectations. It was expectations that you would expect based on what you just already showed us. Right. So, oh my God, I thought Last Jedi was trash. I thought it was garbage.
Well, I do agree. I was confused watching it. Like kind of like you get knocked out and you don't realize you got knocked out in a fight.
Right.
The boxer's still punching away. He's on the canvas. But I'm saying there's a lot of parallels. Like, we didn't get the Han, Luke, and Leia moment in the entire trilogy. Oh my God. And it's kind of like
that
what
is
you're talking
true.
about.
That's
right
a missed
here.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yes.
It's huge. Yeah, no, and you're right. These two characters, again, Lewis and I may be wrong, but because I'll have to watch it again, but I'm like 95% sure these two characters did not have a reunion, and
you will know for your spoiler review for sure, because you're going to be taking better notes. And there's a lot of things I forgot as well, because we're tense. We love Halloween. We're
exactly
tense,
exactly. And do you see the exchange that Lewis and I are having here?
Yeah.
His experience was not a good one. My experience was like, that was all right. I had some fun. Yeah. I liked it better than, and here we are having civil discourse and talking to each other like rational human beings.
Well, I was going to call you names because I disagree. I thought you were going to disagree with, I was ready to go, Dave. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, excuse the message I sent to you calling you a fucking idiot and you piece of shit then. I actually retracted that.
People are vicious, man. They're calling me so many names.
Oh my God. Well, I loved your take on it when that said, tell the audience what happened. I think that's so funny.
I gotta be honest with you. I cover everything.
Yeah, you do.
I love Halloween as well. And I do have props and everything. And I didn't know there was a segment of the horror fans that will get so aggressive with stuff. So I had my review. It is what it is. It's on Nerd Report. Shameless plug.
No, plug it, man. Plug it out. Throw it in the chat room.
Someone called me a big fat pig, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not fat. I'm big boned. Okay, so get it right.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
My mom told me I'm big boned. So
that's it. That's what I was talking about. No, the chat room. Listen, 95% of people are great, and then you have a certain portion of fandom that has the IQ of a donut that comes in here and that just decides to, it just comes with the territory. It is what it is. But no, you do great work. If we
say everything's great, sorry, Dave. If we say everything's great, the studio's going to continue doing stuff the way they are.
Right.
If there's constructive criticism, for example, for Dave, maybe the lighting was off in 2018. He's right about that. Maybe they watched them. Who knows? I think they did.
I doubt they like me.
I think they. I think they did actually. Honestly, and they're probably terrified I'm here because of the bad review.
No, maybe.
So they improved on that.
Right.
Dave liked that. You know what I mean?
Dave liked it, everybody. We can go on with our day now and have some lunch. Dave Mcrae liked the mood, and this is great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So there's when the 1978 reboot happens, Blumhouse, I know you're watching. Please have Dave do it. Have you watched his It's Me Billy movie?
Yeah. Oh, hey, I can pick up my phone. My phone's not ringing right now. So if Blumhouse wants to call and even reboot Black Christmas, I'll check my schedule. But I think I might be available. I don't know. It is. We'll see. We'll see.
There was also, Dave, I gotta say, it's the mindset is so corporate for these films, and I think that's a big committee, downfall, right? Yeah, I mean, actually considering Paul Rudd, I don't know if that was disproven or what, as Tommy Doyle.
They asked him.
Not good.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's
not good. I'm sorry, guys. I know you like Paul. He's a great actor. I thought he was great in Ghostbusters. I didn't see that, and he's great at Ant-Man.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Ghostbusters.
This is not good. If you're rebooting, you're telling me. Unless there's some sort of time warp, time machine, ultra dimensional thing.
It's unnecessary because, people are going to draw on the nostalgia of him playing Tommy Doyle in the past, but he's not playing the same Tommy Doyle. So what's the point? It doesn't really make any sense. So I wanted to ask you now about this flashback, which I think most Halloween fans are going to really dig because it's cool, man. It's cool because the first Halloween, regardless of whether your favorite is part 4, because that was the first movie you watched, or H2O was the first movie you saw in the movie theater, the first Halloween film you saw in the movie theater, what have you. Generally speaking, the first Halloween is considered the best. It's the creme de la creme. It's the gold standard when it comes to Halloween films, generally speaking, as is The Mask and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Playing in this world, in this 1978 world, in this flashback, in Halloween Kills, like I said to you earlier in the show, I thought they did a really good job. I was very nervous because, I don't know how this is going to go. I thought, and this is not a spoiler, we know Loomis is in it. I won't say how much or what happens. I thought they handled Loomis pretty well. I was impressed with how I was impressed with the flashback as a whole. Now, it didn't overstay its welcome. That doesn't mean, because I've heard some people say they liked it so much they wanted to see a 90-minute movie in this world. And
that's me.
That's you. Okay, well, to your point, I don't know how I feel about that yet. Because, you spend longer in this world, there's more opportunities to fuck it up. If you're in and out quick, like a short film, like the flashback almost plays like a short film, right? And so there's a way that it feels kind of like it doesn't overstay its welcome, like almost like it is a high-level, professionally produced fan film, like It's Me, Billy. It's shot on the same shit. I mean, I believe we shot on the Airy Mini, and I believe the Airy Mini was used to shoot Halloween Kills. So, it plays out kind of that way, where it's kind of like, this looks like because we've never seen this before and it looks so legit and so real and so professional, it kind of plays out like a professionally produced 10-minute fan film, whatever. And, but the longer you spend in that world, the more opportunity there is to fuck up. But I don't know how I feel about it, but you're telling me that you liked it so much, maybe it was one of your favorite parts of the movie, that you would have liked to have seen maybe a 90-minute movie in this world. Tell me about that.
Well, dude, I mean, I gotta say, when they dropped into that scene, my heart dropped, man. I was like, whoa. Right. And the look is much better. And right. The shape is much better, I believe. And Is he there? Is he not there?
Right.
Wait, there he is. Who is he? Wait,
right.
Oh, what is he? Oh, I think I see him over here. Dude, he's on top of you. What the F?
There,
like,
yeah, the on top of part, and then the look, and he's not. Really good job. People are gonna really fucking. Good, bro. I really believe that the flashback. I'm telling everybody right now, the flashback. Everybody's gonna fucking lose their minds over this flashback.
Yes.
Halloween fans are gonna be like, holy fuck, because it brings you back to the world that you love most. It would be like going back to Tatooine, you know, and you show up and you're like, oh my God, there it is, and ooh, you know, and all this stuff. You're like, oh, I mean, that's what it's going to be like because it's tapping into that nostalgia, and they've done such a good job of it.
Yeah, it does a few things fan filmish.
Yeah,
you know, and opposed to your film. Again, it's me, Billy. It didn't feel like a fan film. I know you have to say that to disclaim what it is, but it was a film with newer ideas moving the story forward.
It's me, Billy. Yeah. Well, it's me, Billy. Yeah, it's a fan film, really in name only, because we don't own the IP and we can't make money off it. But It's Me, Billy was professionally shot with a professional crew, professional actors, professional Hollywood equipment. So that's why it looks the way it does.
It's perfect. It won the storytelling too. I mean,
we made sure that was just as good, or tried to.
Yeah. In other words, send me a Blu-ray.
All right.
But anyways, listen. That
done. That's right. Here,
I'll buy one.
It's right.
I'll buy one, man.
I got here they are, folks. There they are.
Nice.
There it is. It's Me, Billy on Blu-ray. Now these are for our Indiegogo backers, but we're trying to get a few more to give out to certain people, but I can't guarantee how much that'll be. For sure.
Yeah, there were a few
Shameless
again
plug.
I did like the flashback, but again, it does have winks, like almost
It does.
Do you remember, like, almost like it's not really moving forward? It's kind of, I don't know, man.
Well, you know what? But the reason why I didn't mind it, because it is that same night. So it makes sense that when the cops return to the Myers house, this is not a spoiler. We know the Myers house is in the flashback. When the cops return to the Myers house, and you start to see certain details that you saw in the 1978 original while you were in the Myers house. Okay. It doesn't feel, to me, it didn't feel fan servicey because that's what you would expect, right? You would expect then if you're entering the Myers house on the same night, like just 30 minutes after he was shot off the balcony, you know, or what have you, then it feels kind of like, well, you would walk back in and you would see all those things. You know what I mean? You would see those things. So it didn't feel that it felt justified. The motivation to show those things felt justified to me. So I didn't feel that it was fan servicey. Having the Halloween 3 masks in both movies, that's fan service. You know, showing the Haddonfield Hospital called Haddonfield Memorial with the same logo as part 2, that's fan service. And one could argue is unnecessary because Halloween 2 from 81 doesn't exist. So everything that happens in Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 doesn't exist in this world. So there would be no reason to, you know, tip your hat to that. You know what I mean? That's fan service. But to go into the Myers house in the same time frame and see certain details that you remember seeing in the Myers house in the 78 film, I think just felt like that's what you would expect to see because it's the same night 30 minutes later or something, right? That's how I felt about it anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a little clunky if you think that's what happened, right?
No, hang on. I'm streaming now. 1 second. Let's see if it's going to make us go live here. 1 minute. I'm going to have to redo this. Redo that. Okay, it's connecting. Should just be a jump cut, I think. Oh, we're on. Looks like we're on. I believe we're on. Yes, we are on and we're back. We're back.
Damn you, Michael!
Damn you, Michael! Damn you, Michael! Evil dies tonight. Is he saying that Dr. No, I'm not saying. That's not what I'm saying. Anyways, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for that. There was a bit of a internet malfunction, but we're back. And if you're watching the stream after the fact, it should just be a jump cut in the stream, hopefully.
Look, I just love the part. Look, Halloween Kills, I could say whatever. Like how bad, good, whatever. I just love when Michael got that machine gun and just started mowing down those
holy
mofos.
shit, dude. And then like Grand Theft Auto, he stood on the car with the bazooka and blew up the hospital, and the entire hospital just went up in flames, and Laurie was going, my God. He was like, shut up, bitch. No, that didn't happen. That'd be funny.
Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. We're not going to spoil it for you.
That's true. Maybe it did.
Yeah,
maybe it was an end credit scene.
Yeah, it's, he's like, you want some of this? I'll take you all to hell.
That's
fuck you, man.
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah, can you imagine?
He talks, my God.
He talks in it. But that flashback, so we were talking about the flashback before we were rudely disconnected from Blumhouse. But we were talking about the flashback, and you were saying, that you like the flashback so much that you really would have loved to have seen that world extended, maybe a movie in that world.
Man, I think that's going to be the highlight from all the fans. I think that's going to be the unifying factors from all the naysayers and all the lovers of this film.
Right.
And again, it may sound, I'm already, getting some people in the comments saying that I keep saying about the winks and throwbacks and the Easter eggs and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, but Louis, you like the flashback. It's like, I don't know, the moon and atmosphere during the flashback.
I gotta say,
so awesome, man.
It is. It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. They nailed the 78 feel. They nailed Halloween. And that, see now, and once people watch that flashback, you're going to soon realize what I've been talking about in terms of that visual aesthetic, the mood, is just as much a character to Halloween than Michael and Laurie and Loomis. And when you don't have that, you notice it gone. You notice it not being there. It's part of Myers. He's like the wind. He's a storm that's coming on the horizon. He's those dark clouds. If you don't have those dark clouds and you have sunshine, it's not the same. The feeling is gone. So opening this film, it doesn't quite open directly with a flashback, but essentially, a few minutes in, we open with the flashback. It's done so well, so much attention to detail and so much care. And
that was tense.
It was tense
because I felt like the shape felt like a ghost, man.
Yeah,
it was out anywhere.
It was really, really well done.
Yeah.
And to say, in my opinion, I don't think Halloween Kills is void of suspense, is void of mood and atmosphere. I think there is better, in my estimation, when comparing it to the H-18 film, there is better mood and atmosphere, better and a few more examples of suspense than there was in 18 at all. And I think that's why it pleased this purist. I wasn't like, again, I'm not walking out of there going, oh, it's got theater of the mind and it's exactly what I would have done. No, of course not. It's a bold, balls to the wall, gory slasher film. But they just added that extra, just those extra sprinkles where I'm kind of like, oh, so for somebody like me, I can enjoy this because you're giving me some sprinkles. You know what I mean? And it's not just shit that doesn't matter. It's stuff that makes Halloween feel like Halloween. But, yes, there are other issues.
I want to add something too, because maybe we have some people coming into the chat a little bit later, because this video, some people get notifications later.
Yep.
I want to be clear when I'm kind of like, when I'm talking about the flashbacks and the winks and the Easter eggs, the reason they bother me here more than any other movie is not only are they kind of excessively used, for example, and some of the kills are like, and situations are similar to every single Halloween movie we've seen. Mm-hmm. There's winks to every single one, I think. But you asked me, not you, Dave, but I'm talking about the studio. You asked me to forget about part 2.
Right.
Which was the first introduction to Halloween for me. Right. And I love that movie. Right. But guess what? When I watched part 2, I went to part 1. There's a part 1 of this as a kid. And dude, that blew me away. But if you're asking me to forget about, part 2, and I gave the studio the chance, like, I felt like they were saying, look, Carpenter did not really like part 2.
He didn't.
It's a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
We have something better. We have something better. We have Carpenter back. We have his blessing this time. Everything is better. Blumhouse is kicking ass. They don't care about the general audience. They make good movies, throwbacks, and they're for the fans, right?
Right.
But now you're giving me a movie that's like saying the last few movies don't exist because they sucked. They went off the rail. But guess what? We're giving you pieces of those movies.
Right.
It's like, well, what?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's, you know,
there's a hospital here.
If you're going and it's called Haddonfield Memorial with the same logo.
Correct.
I think it's, you know, I've always said that. I've said that on my channel too, that look, if you're going to axe it. You know, just pretend it doesn't exist. Don't bring in, I mean, we know why they do that, obviously, because it's tapping into people's nostalgia, which gets people to go to the theater and buy tickets. Nostalgia is a very, very powerful marketing tool.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest out there. And so we know why they're doing it and why they've done it. But I agree with you. I think too, I forget who it was. It might have been on the horror show with Cecil Laird and his crew over there. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was somebody else. But I've talked about this and I've said this, and we know why Halloween 2 doesn't exist. We know why. But I can't, and listen, everybody suffers from PTSD. You know, who am I to tell you your struggle, right? Or what your struggle has been like. I mean, if I haven't gone through it, if it wasn't something I went through, what the fuck does it matter what I think? I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a mental health expert. So obviously, in case people just didn't know, you know, really, I thought you were. I thought you were all those things. Scooby-Doo. But that was random. But I will say that I do tend to agree, and purely from a surface level, just a feeling, not being an expert in this, that the intensity that they're applying to the story, the intensity that they're applying to the town and the ramifications and the residual effects and the trauma 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 and the trauma, such potent placement on trauma and people's effects and how it affects people and all this kind of stuff. It does feel like this would be more believable had Halloween 2 existed, because you would then be able to look at the mayhem that existed in Halloween 2, the massacre at the hospital, right? And everything that happened there, and the struggle that Laurie went through. She didn't just find her 3 dead friends and went there. And listen, I'm not saying only, okay? I mean, who the fuck am I to say this, right? But it almost feels like had she been through the shit that she went through in part 2 as well, it would almost be justification, not just for her to being this, who she is, but also for the town to be like, oh, I don't fucking think so, pal. Do you know what I mean? It almost feels like, yes, this is a small town where 3 people were murdered 40 years ago. Are people really still, does this town really still have that sore eye on it? You know, has this town really never gotten over it? And listen, who am I to say? Who the fuck am I to say, right? I mean, maybe it is true. Maybe it's true. But from a storytelling perspective, from a writing perspective, and I understand why they got rid of it. We didn't want the brother-sister arc, and we didn't want to explain how Michael survived the fire. How does anybody survive that, right? When we're trying to tell you that he's nothing but a man, you know, and with a supernatural element. So I understand that it probably was the best choice, but it's a catch-22. I kind of feel like all this placement on this hysteria and evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight. It's like, holy fuck, who are they talking about? Some guy that killed 3 people 40 years ago. Now, mind you, but I will say too that the stuff that happened in 18 is also present in this movie as well. But anyway, I do empathize. I empathize with people who have that struggle to kind of like, I feel like this is almost overreaching for what actually happened. But then again, I mean, who am I, right? Anyway, sorry.
Dude, you're Dave Mcrae, man. You have influence in these movies. I know you do. They're watching. I'm telling you right now.
They're not watching.
And also, you know, to add on what you said, sorry to interrupt you earlier, but Sheriff Barker, like he doesn't, all those people turned. 500 people, you know, 500 people at a time, thousands of people at a time turned. And it's like the sheriff doesn't even care.
Right.
He's looking at everyone like they're idiots. Sheriff Barker.
Yeah, I've never liked, I like Omar Dorsey as a character. Sorry, as an actor, I think he's a cool dude. But his Sheriff Barker character, I believe, was wasted in H-18 and was wasted in this movie as well. I just don't know what, I mean, yes, you can see a bit of his arc in the sense of that in H-18, he didn't take Hawkins seriously, which I always found strange. Hawkins has been on the force for like 40 something years. He was there the night that Michael Myers was apprehended. And he's telling you that there was a bus crash with Michael Myers on it, and you as the sheriff don't take this fucking guy seriously. He laughs it off in the first movie. I always found that, I don't believe you would do that unless you are just an inept, incompetent sheriff. And maybe he is. And now he has a bit of an arc in the sense that in this movie, we start, he comes upon all the carnage and all that kind of stuff. And we start to see him kind of start to take things seriously, but he feels like a sheriff that has no control. He feels like a sheriff that is a fish out of water, that has no control over anybody or no control over the situation. Like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And maybe that is the intention. Maybe the intention is that he is in way over his head. And maybe that will be very apparent once we get to Halloween Ends. But it does feel like that. At no point do I feel this sheriff has taken control, taken charge, and been a leader. I didn't feel that in H-18. I don't feel that in Halloween Kills. So that is definitely something I can speak to right out of the gate that I don't need a second watch on. I don't feel that he really had anything. I think it's a missed opportunity for him. And it could also be because they have so many other people that they're trying to get in there, you know, and like it was fun seeing, and I think, to be honest with you, and this is saying something, it's alluding to something without giving spoilers. I think Kyle Richards, who plays Lindsay, had the most to do, and I think she was the best out of them all. I think her performance was great with what she was given to do, right? It's relative to, like, don't expect fucking like, Oscar-worthy performance. I'm just saying, in comparison to the other legacy characters, I think she was given the most to do. And what she was given to do, I think, was great. Brackett was given not much to do. I think Brackett, listen, Charles Cyphers is over 80. It's not like he's going to be out there fucking John Wicking shit. But I think he was largely kind of, it's felt more of like a ceremonial role, kind of like here's Brackett and that's fine. It's cute, right? It's like, there's Brackett. It's kind of cool, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of that. I wanted more of that. We know in this movie that, just would these people really be hanging out every Halloween, sharing a drink for something that I don't know. I don't know.
There's a history missing.
Yeah, there feels like there should be more. Again, I'm not trying to downplay the murder of 3 people in a fucking house on Halloween night in a small town. I'm not trying to downplay that. I just feel like the level that they're going to, I almost feel like there needs to be, you would expect there to be more of a past, more of stuff. And that's where Halloween 2 from 81, again, it's a dichotomy, right? Well, it's like, how do you do that and explain him surviving and trying to get rid of the brother-sister arc? And
I would think Laurie would reach out to them since they were all part of the same night.
Sorry, say again, who?
I think Laurie would reach out to them throughout all these years because she was obsessed with the night. So she'd be like, hey, we got to all stick together. I believe the shape is coming back. At least that's... So we got to all stick together. We all got to be ready for this throughout the 40 years. Why not the other characters turn into Rambo like she did in the 2018, into Sarah Connor. So like that is interesting. Maybe a book or something like that, but yeah,
No, but we were talking about that earlier, right? When I said that when Tommy Doyle runs into, and this is not a spoiler because it's in a clip online, when he runs into the hospital room to see Laurie, we don't know. Again, I got to see the movie again, but I don't believe we know if they've had any interaction in 40 years. Now he says, which I felt was a bit of an oversell because we already know this. The audience already knows this. Laurie does too. It's not like she doesn't know this. But he says, you know, I'm paraphrasing, 40 years ago, you protected me and now I'm going to protect you. But it's like, okay, but is this the first time they're laying eyes on each other in 40 years?
That was for the audience.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But but I'm like, or should I be caring more about this reunion than I am? Like, I wanted to see, like, he's the one that taught Laurie the boogeyman was real. That was the arc of the first movie. Tommy believed, Tommy was scared, Laurie didn't. You know, Laurie, what's the boogeyman? Tommy, there's no such thing. You know what I mean? And she didn't buy into it. And that's why at the end of the movie, she goes, it was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. You know what I mean? And that's her arc, becoming that realization that he is real. The boogeyman is real. So I wanted more of a moment between those two, rather than just bursting into the hospital room and going, Laurie, 40 years ago, you saved me, but I'm going to protect you right now. Tell me what's going on. It almost felt like, oh, that was really quick. Like, you know, like sex was too fast or something. Like you came to, you know, you just...
Yeah.
It was over. Yeah, it kind of felt like I wanted to sit with that moment more as a hardcore Halloween fan, as a purist, who understands the original. Like these are like her looking at. Yeah, I just wanted more of that. And then, like I said, there was that character that you would have thought would have had a reunion with Laurie and didn't. You know what I mean?
Maybe like that scene, and maybe you can envision this, Dave, and you can recruit me as a co-director in your next film. Is maybe like. As you know, he's walking into the hospital and there's that window you see from the room. There's a slow motion scene where he looks into the room and then she looks out at the window and they make eye contact in slow motion. Like,
who does?
When there's a reunion with
what's it called? Right. No, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Like he's running in and then it goes slow motion and he looks into he's looking inside the room and then she looks out and it's all, you're bang on, Lewis. It's all about that nuance, that breathing room. So for example, I'll give you an example. This doesn't happen in the movie, but like maybe when, and it's not a spoiler, like we know she's in the hospital. Or yeah, maybe it does. Maybe Robert Englund comes up and grabs Myers' mouth. Who knows? But so yes, like for example, you know, when Laurie is unconscious, when she's in the hospital, right? And you know, you just hear beep, 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 you know, and she's unconscious. And Allison is talking to her. Maybe, now I don't know where Tommy was at that moment in the story. And maybe in terms of the editing, in terms of this story, that wouldn't make sense because he was already over here and it wouldn't make sense for him to be there. However, the point I'm making is that you write the story in a way that allows for a reunion that feels more emotional and more weighted. Correct. So like Tommy shows up at the hospital because he's heard. And instead of bursting into the hospital because he's just finished having a huge moment himself outside being attacked or fighting or whatever, and he's all like, which is what happens in the film, you have him show up at the door and he opens the door and he hasn't seen her in 40 years. And he walks in and and maybe she opens his eyes to him or something to that, you know, effect. It seems like that she's opening his eyes to him, but in reality, it's just that the medication's wearing off or whatever. Right. And there's a moment and she's like, Tommy. Yeah, you know what I mean? And he sits down and he holds her hand, you know, and there's just that moment. You allow it to breathe and it's quiet. And all you hear maybe in the distance is, you know, doctor, please, doctor, line one, please. You know, and then you hear just beep, beep, you know, and there's a moment where they're looking. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes. There's just a moment where we're like, this is it. This is the moment they've seen each other in 40 years. Quiet, you know, quiet, everybody. This is I like that kind of stuff, especially when it's between two legacy characters that are arguably, because they have a history that nobody else does. You know, Lindsay too. Lindsay was there as well, but I don't even think, like it's just those types of things, right? Those kind of things I wanted to see. And that's in the writing, that's in the breathing room, that's in the structure and how you lay out and how you edit things, you know, together and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I mean, I like the movie. I liked the movie, but for the reasons that I said I did.
But that doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge all the things that other people are like, I didn't like it for this. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I totally understand why, because I recognize that that does exist and that is there. And maybe it will bother me more on subsequent watches, you know, because now I'm sort of watching it from, you know, through a bit of a different lens, no pun intended. But to your point, like, how would you have felt about that kind of a reunion between Tommy and Lori?
Well, absolutely would have worked better. Maybe like she doesn't know she's dreaming, or she's thinking about the shape, obviously, maybe. And then she starts to remember what happened in the events of 1978. And then she's envisioning him as a kid. And then boom, you know, like kind of like both him now and back then a little bit and stuff. But, you know, one thing I just thought of as you were explaining yourself here, the second time watching something, I do believe the editing is going to bother me less the second time because I kind of know what to expect.
Right.
I'm not tense anymore because, you know, when you watch a movie you really care about for the first time, you're like
yeah,
don't do this. Well, did
and
they say that?
Let's not kid ourselves. Sorry, I just want to interject before you go on.
No, go ahead.
Let's not kid ourselves. We all talk about tempering expectations, go in without any expectations. Come on. Who really goes in with, I don't fucking care at all? I mean, that's very difficult to do, especially when it is, for a lot of people in the world of horror, they're Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? So it can be very hard to go in with no expectations. And I don't know for a fact, because I haven't sat with it long enough to know that is, whether that is the absolute reason I was able to walk out and, as a Halloween purist, and ironically actually have a good time. I don't know, but it's the only thing I can point to, because I know that I knew what this movie was going to be, what to expect and all that kind of jazz. And I think that helped me. I think whether I realize it or not, I really did do a pretty good job at really subverting my expectation, or not subverting, sorry, tempering my expectations and just keeping them really on simmer, like really low. They're there. I mean, they're there, but really low. I wasn't sitting there going, check. Oh, fuck. Check. Oh, come on. I wasn't doing that. You know, I was just kind of, okay, I'm going on a ride. I put the bar down, you know, I'm on a track and I'm going in a ride. I'm just like, here we go. And I just enjoy what comes to me. And I think that's how I was able to do it. But then I mean, who knows? Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue. No, man. I mean, I think we're both bringing up pretty valid points. Absolutely.
And stuff. And look, I had a great time going back to the movies, and I'm 100% happy that there's more Michael Myers and stuff like that. But
what did you think about the way he looked? The way the mask, the performance of James Jude Courtney. I actually think he did a really good job.
Very good job. There's actually one point where it was like,
fucking great.
Really, really good. I don't want to say what happens.
Yeah.
But there's something that I was like, wow, he's doing it like that. His walk was really good.
Really good. And shout out, I believe his name is Aaron Anderson, if I'm not mistaken.
The First Shape?
Yeah, the guy in the 1978 flashback. Shout out to him. Tremendous job. Excellent work. Like really good. Aaron Armstrong, excuse me. Aaron Armstrong. Aaron Anderson, I think, is actually a viewer of mine. Aaron Armstrong. That's right. Yeah. He did a great job. Great job. Really, really, really well done. Very
guy
impressed.
For John Wick, Dark Knight Rises, Old Boy. So yeah, he did a very good job. I don't like super tall Michael Myers buff.
Yeah.
I don't think that's scary, actually.
Right.
I felt it's a little larger than the 78 one, but that's fine. For some reason, as we get older, like as time goes, larger is more intimidating. Right. But I don't know. I mean, until he was like 19 feet tall with Rob Zombie's film, that was not scary at all.
Right.
But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and you know, although James Jude Courtney, I think, is about 6'3", for whatever reason, I think he's a big guy, but it's his performance that wins me over. You know, I don't think about his height. I don't think the fact that he's 5 inches taller than Nick Castle. You know, I don't think about that because his performance is really good, you know, and I believe this is, once again, I loved his performance in H-18. I really liked it in this movie as well. And I really like the way they shot him, the way they shot his mask. I really appreciated that, and the way he comes out of certain places. And I had more fun watching this movie. That's just what it comes to. I had more fun watching this movie and certain aspects of the film than I did H-18. You know, let's
talk about the elephant in the room, because I want to ask you a question.
Sure, let's go. Okay, let's talk about it.
And I know the fans right here in the comments are going to be are watching, are going to be like,
so I'm settling in, putting my feet up here. All right, okay, let's do this. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
One thing I loved about Halloween in general, right, is no explanation for the shape. It's pretty much a Rorschach. Like, what do you think? It's a blank face. What do you think it is? What's the story about? Especially the 78 one.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe when people used to ask John Carpenter why he kills or who he kills and had their own reason, he would never say you're wrong or right. And I think you know where I'm going here.
Right.
Jamie Lee Curtis's marketing bothers me watching her interviews. I mean, it's like, this is what the shape is. It's like, bro, it's not that. You know, it's not. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of almost like when she compares this movie to is offensive.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Jamie Lee Curtis, and again, I'm purely speculating here. I have no evidence to suggest that this is what she's doing. But I've always speculated because of how, you know, it's no secret that she is a bit of a social activist, and there are certain social issues that are very important to her: women's issues, rights, exclusivity, all that. I mean, exclusivity, inclusivity, or inclusive, whatever, right? And listen, all power to her, man. I mean, absolutely, all power. I can't, and I've said it 3 years ago, I'll say it again, I've said it before on my channel, I can't help but feel that how hard she's going into the paint on trauma and the subtext and what it's all like. She, at every opportunity she gets to tell people this is what the movie's about, makes me think that was never the intention for the movie to be about that. And that somehow, and she needed a reason to come back. I mean, money was one, being executive producer and getting a portion of the box office. I don't know if she did. I think she did. May have been enough, but certainly she's done this merry-go-round before. She didn't need to come back. She's already done this. And sure, the script may have been good, but if she came on as an executive producer, I would love to know how much creative input she had. I just don't know if the subtext of trauma, I mean, now, yes, because it's been molded that way and it's out there, and there's clearly a through line of intention to make this subtext maybe not so through certain dialogue and exposition, all that kind of stuff. But I don't necessarily believe, and I could be wrong, this is speculation, that was the intention from the beginning with David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. I just don't think that I'm not saying they're not smart guys, but I have a feeling that Jamie Lee Curtis needed something to motivate her to come back, needed an angle that has never been in any other films. And she saw something in the H-18 script that was there, but she blew it up to maybe make it mean more than it really did. And they wanted her back so desperately. And I'm not saying that she had this conversation. I'm not saying she said this verbatim, but I think maybe it's even unspoken, that it's kind of like, hey, we need to kind of make this movie about this and really have this theme here, or Jamie's not going to want to do it. And so they ran with it because they desperately wanted Jamie Lee Curtis to come back. And there's nothing wrong with that theme. Horror movies, since the inception of horror, have told social commentary and have had themes, and absolutely. It's not that horror movies have social commentary. It's whether or not you're able to deliver it in a organic, justified way that doesn't feel preachy, condescending, and pretentious. Some of the movies. So I think
Last
with
Jedi.
Or in my opinion, Black Christmas 2019. I think that was
didn't bother.
Way over the head.
I just waited for Dave Mcrae's follow-up.
Yeah, but I think there's a, with Curtis, I think she's just it feels I think there's So when it comes to the shape, I think now what you have to do is, because there is this theme that's running, there's this theme now about trauma, about justice, and about anger, and about how to rise up and defeat evil, and all, like there's this, it's becoming very sort of, you know, to the conscious mind now, that I think that the explanation, or even an ambiguous point to the explanation, now has to be line up in some sort of fashion with that. You know, it has to be some sort of, almost like it's a metaphor. So and Michael has always been a metaphor, but it's always remained just evil. You know, it's not political evil. It's not what's going on in the world at the Capitol riots evil. It's not a metaphor for that. It's just evil. He just is. He just is evil. And that sat there for a while. And now, because there's this sort of political angle that they're taking with it, which is fine, they use that as the catalyst to make sense of the evil. So now it's this evil is a metaphor for this. And I think that may be problematic for some people. It's like, no, he's just evil. Like, stop using this as a metaphor for this. He just is. And you do see that in some of the dialogue, that they try to make sense of it in kind of that way. I don't know if that made sense. I think it did, though.
No, you did make sense. But I like it when the audience decides what the metaphor is.
Correct.
I don't like spoon. Again, it goes. I guess it shouldn't happen. But again, it starts to show me that the dumbing down of the marketing, and then the exposition, and the constantly like, hey, did you watch the 2018 one? It's like, this happened, bro. There's a sequel.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there are a few 18 flashbacks too, which didn't make quite sense.
It does, yeah. So it's like, and that's a mark of bad writing. You know, when you have to constantly explain what's going on, or no confidence in the script, or maybe thinking that your audience is coming to this movie for the first time.
Right.
They don't know it's a sequel, because it's to be fair, it's not called Part 3 or whatever. It's called Halloween Kills. So
that's right.
You know, so maybe that's something they were worried about. And then it goes back to my original problem, is that Blumhouse was the right choice, but Blumhouse went corporate.
Right.
I believe they went corporate because it's such a big film. And I believe it does show. But I'm going to ask you another question. Do you feel John Carpenter's influence was in this film? Like, did you think he had creative input? I do feel he had something to do with the first one a little more.
It's hard to say, because, you know, I mean, if you are a student of Carpenter, and I mean that, like, you know, I consider myself that, you consider yourself that, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you understand the original Halloween and what makes the original Halloween so great, and, you know, if like, and I don't, this is going to sound really pretentious, and I don't mean it to sound this way, but if I do have confidence that if I was given, you know, the same budget, $10 million, you know, whatever, I had the same access to the same resources and all that kind of stuff, I could have delivered a flashback that looked like that too. Because you are a fan, you understand what makes the original so great, right? And you understand those nuances and how to present certain things, because you know, you just get it. You get it. You understand it. And David Gordon Green is a fan. So, you know, I don't think that the 78 flashback looked as good as it does, and it's going to get people all riled up because Carpenter had his footprints all over it, or his handprints all over it. Not necessarily. I mean, I think they could have done that without his input, because it's so embedded into pop culture. And if you are a fan, you just know how it's supposed to look. You have the movie, you have, you understand it. You understand the source material. But I do know, like, I read an article just the other day that apparently David Gordon Green has sent the script for Halloween Ends off to Carpenter for his notes. So he's definitely giving notes. How much influence he has on the end product, I don't know. Being executive producer in film, as you know, can mean something and it can mean absolutely nothing. It's not like a showrunner in television. It's very different. So, I mean, he definitely has influence, I would say, and he gives his notes. But I don't know how much influence he had over that flashback.
After watching this film, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay.
Do you think they could bring it home with Ends? I think they opened a lot of can of worms, a lot of characters. Do you think?
Again, I think it comes down to what, now that we've seen Halloween 18 and now that we've seen Halloween Kills, and, there are some people out, it depends. What do you expect from your Halloween movie? We know that Halloween Ends is going to take place a few years later. We know it's going to be a more smaller, self-contained film. What does that mean? This is probably, in terms of body count and blood and gore, this is it. Not that doesn't mean there are not going to be any kills, but I will say, and not to say how the movie ends, of course, but I am perplexed on how they're going to fast forward, 3 or 4 years into the future. It feels kind of like, well, what happens? Like how it feels a little strange. But I think they can wrap it? I think they can wrap up this story. Yeah, I do. But that doesn't mean that people are going to like Halloween Ends. It's going to be a wrap up. I think it'll be a competently made film, and whether we like it or not, I don't know. I think the jury is still out. I'm not a big fan of the 18 movie, but I don't know. I got to go back and watch now that I have 2 films. I got to watch them back to back, and I got to get the feels, and I got to feel it, and I don't know. What do you think? What do you think Ends is going to be?
Dude, I don't know what it's going to be, man. I really don't. That's one thing. I don't even know what the plot could be. I got to be honest with you. Are they going to continue with like Uprising 2 years later? Like I said, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it. The other thing that happens, but yeah. So I don't think Halloween ends with Ends.
Well, hey, if it does well at the box office, it's not going to end. Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, Mustafa Akkad, never said, whatever you do, don't kill my Michael Myers.
I know.
Do whatever you want. Don't kill my Michael Myers.
He wanted money, money, money. That's what he wanted. It was probably his most lucrative source of income, I would imagine. Okay.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What did you think of the score? Because we never
we never talked about the score. We never talked about the score. I liked the score. I did. I really liked the score. I thought the score was great. I don't know if I liked it as much as 18, but I got to tell you, it was on point. I mean, there was some really nice moments of, I liked the score. I thought I had no issues with it. Let's put it that way. I had no issue. It didn't underwhelm me. It didn't overwhelm me, but it didn't underwhelm me. It felt like a classic. It felt like it lived in this universe. It sounded very similar to what we had in 18, and it was some more good stuff. So I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was electronic sounding, like synthesizer sounding, kept that with a little bit more, just a touch of modernism.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I did like the score, and like in the middle of the film, I was like, the score's pretty good. It's very different, know?
For sure.
So I would give it props. And again, look, good or bad review, support the film experience, because they need it. And it was fun going to watch it,
Yes.
And the entire experience, and the horror community is so awesome, going there and showing their passion. And if you don't like it, fine, say you don't like it. Say you don't like, constructive criticism and stuff. Maybe they'll course correct. By no means me giving it a bad review does it say don't waste your money.
No,
this is money well spent, and it's fun,
and it's not invalidating your love or like for it. No. People have to understand. People get their fucking knickers in a twist so much over the fact that it's like, and it's because there is this tribal team mentality. And if somebody says that I didn't like Halloween Kills because I thought it was a mess, somebody's going to go, well, what the fuck do you know? You don't know what's going on. It's like, why are you getting so why do you take it so personally? Why do you get so angry about it? Just go watch it and judge it for yourself. And if you like it, then that's great. Don't worry about it, but there's this team mentality, and people take ownership, and they get very sensitive, over people talking, and at the same time, people connect dots where there are no dots either. I woke up this morning with about 7 DMs in my Twitter box, about 10 DMs in my Facebook box, and from people saying things that I never said, saying, Dave, so glad you loved the movie and you thought it was a blast. I said, I never said that. I never said I loved the movie and I thought it was a blast. Point to my tweets where I said I thought it was a blast. You know, I'm so glad you loved the movie and you thought it was amazing. And people were saying this because they saw my tweets and they saw that I was speaking favorably about enjoying the experience, yes. and that I thought the flashback was great and this kind of stuff. And they interpret that to mean he loved the movie, and it's like, well, no, that doesn't mean it might mean I didn't hate it. You know, but it's that nuance. It's in
so
politics.
So you're trying to tell me
fandom.
10 out of 10?
No, I wouldn't give this movie a 10 out of 10. No, not at all. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. I wouldn't give it a 9 out of 10. I don't even know if I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Maybe a 7. I don't know. I need to watch it again and I need to kind of feel it out. But I did like it better than 18 on first watch. That's all I have to compare right now. That's all I have to measure is my first watch experience, you know, and I walked out of the theater having had a good time and enjoyed this fun little ride, the nostalgia of it and the changes they made in the aesthetic and the tone. I enjoyed it, but I didn't like everything, you know, no. and we talked a bit about that here. You know, and I'll talk more about it after the weekend's done, diving deep into the spoilers. Listen, dude, I know we've been going on for a little while. Do you have a few more minutes so I can get to some super chats?
Yeah, man, absolutely. You know, maybe another thing I want to touch upon, my last little thing, grip with the film.
Yeah, no worries. Say away.
Man, the character choices. I mean, sorry, the characters were so dumb in this movie. Like some of the choices they made, it's like, hey, Dave, did you hear that Michael just killed 170 people with his bare hands? Yeah. So I'm going to go out and try to kill him on my own. What the hell are you doing?
Right. I understand.
Like stuff like
saying.
that. It's like, dude, no one aimed straight. What the hell?
No.
Anyways, rant off.
But hey, if you don't agree with Luis, you watch the movie and you're like, what the fuck was that Luis Lecca talking about?
Hey, go and talk shit to me on Nerd Report. Tell me on Nerd Report.
Yeah, Luis, throw your Nerd Report links into the chat room as well.
Yeah, and I also want to add, if you know, I'd love to talk random films. I'm going to put the link right there, and I'm giving away tickets to Dune. And I'm working on Ghostbusters in several cities in the United States for now. Dave, I apologize. I know you're in Canada.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all right. It's all right.
So it's Nerd Report over there. Be respectful. We love Dave. Dave is part of our team. I consider him a friend. So
yeah, for sure. And like I said, guys, if you agree with Lewis's assessment on Halloween Kills, or even if you don't agree with Lewis's assessment on Halloween Kills, he's a connected dude in the industry out in Hollywood, and he's a great guy. He's a great dude. I love Lewis to bits. I'd marry him if I had the chance. Well, anyway, so
in California, baby. Careful.
Hey, that'll get me in. I'll just go. It's like that Chuck and Larry film with what's his face, Kevin James and Adam Sandler. You know.
Next time I see you, you're not leaving California, bro. I'm putting a ring on that finger. I'm putting a ring. Dave Lecca is going to be his name.
David Lecca.
Moving forward,
ooh, I like
channel.
David Lecca.
If you want, I'll stay for the super chats as well.
For sure, man. By all means. Yeah, no, for sure. Let's head over and read some of these super chats that came in. I'm going to go back to the first one that came in earlier today, and that comes from Jesus Freak Bobby Reeves. Sends in $4.99. Says, Dave, were you pleased with all that went down in the flashbacks? Not how they were shot, but what all happens. I see what you're saying. I was I pleased with all that went down? No, I wasn't pleased with all that went down, but it didn't bother me and didn't, you know, I don't want to, there was none of that. There was none of that. I was like, okay, I got out relatively unscathed. Let's just say that. So that's a good thing. Yeah. And how did you feel, Luis? Like overall, there wasn't anything that made you cringe in the flashback or
dialogue?
Oh, well, a bit of the dialogue in the flashback. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit. Again, I have to rewatch it because you're watching something you pretty much are watching something you've watched a million times for 40 years, right? And you're adding to it. So like, It's like, does it fit? Pretty good job.
That's just it. Does it fit? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Let's see here. Chris Parrish sends in $4.99, says, what do you take from David Gordon Green saying ends will have COVID and some politics in it? I read that. I don't know yet. I got to know more about the context of what he's talking about and how he's going to weave that into it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. Lewis?
Well, hopefully they bring back the Curse of Thorn.
I think they should.
I don't like that idea.
I think they should just bring back everybody from the dead and have it like the Rise of Skywalker, where everybody's just comes back and you hear the disembodied voices of all the dead Halloween people.
Let us watch the movie. We'll determine what's an allegory for. Star Wars was World War II. I didn't know until I started reading history.
Yeah.
And I was like,
true.
wow, that's awesome. It was clever.
It was.
Let us watch. Let the audience decide.
There you go.
That's my opinion.
There you go. David Coe sends in $4.99, says, Lewis, I am offended you don't love H Kills. He's totally kidding. I haven't seen it yet, but it's 2021 and I don't know what to do if I'm not offended about something. And he puts an LOL. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean... Yeah, I mean, if
as long as you're not offended of Dave and I getting married, I'm good with you, man.
That's it, right there. David Lecca. I'm in. I'm moving to California, baby. Veda, get ready. That's my cat. Cody Leach sends in $5 and says, I hope you, Cody Leach, my man Cody Leach sends in $5, says, I hope you enjoyed it, Dave. I was very disappointed. I saw that. Loved the flashback segment so much. Wish they kept that atmosphere in the rest of Kills. I did watch Cody Leach's review, and again, there's a lot of what Cody Leach had to say that I agree with, that I'm like, yeah, it didn't bother me the way it bothered him on first watch, but I understood completely what he's talking about. I'm like, yeah, I recognize it. It's there. So that's why I'm curious on whether this is going to bother. Now that sort of the cat's out of the bag, the first watch is done, the Band-Aid's been ripped off, I can watch it in the comfort of my own home. How am I going to feel? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you bring up a good point. And also leaving the theater, I had the comment is like, hey, here's a flashback. Isn't this awesome? Sorry, our movie's this though.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't this cool? Yeah, it's cool. Okay, cool. Bye. Here's
Lewis, I guarantee you there's going to be people that are going to say, you know what? The flashback should have been the beginning of Halloween 18. That should have been an alternate Halloween 2 that took place in 1978. So you have the 1981 Halloween 2, which picks up immediately where the first one left off. But then you do an alternate Halloween 2 where you have a chance to do the whole movie in 1978, not introduce the brother-sister arc and not introduce him maybe burning fire, on fire at the end of the film. But the whole movie, it's a period piece. It takes place in 78. I gotta say, I kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see that.
Didn't you say that was the original intent? They were actually going to reshoot the ending of part 1, sorry.
No,
78.
okay, so now Christopher Nelson disputes this. Shout out to him, of course, and his team who did an amazing job on the effects and the mask. He disputed this on a recent episode of The Thing with Two Heads with Sean Clark. But this isn't just a rumor that was pulled out of my ass. This actually comes from Bloody Disgusting. They did an article in 2018 quoting John Carpenter himself, saying that, and I forget if it was an early draft or an early idea or something, but there was something on the table, at least very, very early on, whether it was written or an idea, I'm not sure, where one of the ideas was in Halloween 18, they were going to redo the ending of the movie. And they were going to have Michael kill Loomis and have Laurie be the one that shoots him out the window. Now, obviously, maybe that didn't make it to a first draft. I can't remember. I'll have to read the article, but search for it. Google it. It's there. It's Bloody Disgusting. It's not, Billy Bob's movie blog. It's one of the top horror sites in the world covering this and quoting John Carpenter. So I'm like, well, now maybe Christopher Nelson didn't know about it, because you have to understand that although, yes, he's attached to the project, he absolutely would know a lot about stuff, but not everybody who works on a movie knows everything that goes on about the nitty gritty details that happen. I mean, the makeup effects artist maybe is not privy to a lot of the, creative decisions that are made, right? in terms of the story. So he would know about effects and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying he was, I'm just saying that maybe it's something he didn't know. I don't know. But it's certainly, I don't think Bloody Disgusting would be lying, and I don't think John Carpenter would be lying. So I think it is real. But yes, that is true. That was at the very least, an idea, which is kind of strange. You know what I mean?
Well, the only way that would work is if Loomis goes downstairs, Michael kills him, and then he goes back upstairs.
Right,
somehow.
right, yeah.
I'm not a fan of Laurie doing.
I'm not a fan of that either,
yeah.
But that is why Laurie's bedroom in the 2018 movie, the
Looks
layout
exactly
is the same as the Doyle house. Yeah, because that actually was going to be the Doyle bedroom where he gets shot up. Like if you look at her bedroom where all the mannequins are, the closet is to the left, the balcony is to the right, the bed's in the middle. I mean, it because they had recreated the Doyle bedroom for that purpose.
And it's not uncommon in productions that like one department has no idea what the other department's doing, or actors don't know what's happening. And they film something one way and then it turns out the other in the theatrical release.
Right.
That's just the way it is. We are more invested into storyline because we're nerds.
Yes.
We're fans of it.
That's
but
right.
That a lot of the times it's just the job for people. So no disrespect for them. They show up to their job, they kick ass, but they don't know everything.
Absolutely. People have to understand that this is compartmentalized. And, again, I mean, I can tell you that, I mean, I've never worked on a major Hollywood film, but the principle is still the same. And I can tell you when we shot It's Me, Billy, again, we're working with professional crew. These are professionals who work in Canada's film and television industry. They've since gone on to do other shows and films 10 times over. This is what they do. And I can tell you that if you were to ask our first AC, Jacqueline DeBacco, something creative about It's Me, Billy, she wouldn't know anything about. I mean, she might have an idea, but she certainly isn't privy to the creative decisions that are being made with the writers, with myself and Bruce, behind closed doors in terms of what we want to do creatively with the picture. She doesn't need to know that. It's not her job. So again, every set is different. Every project is different, but that is real. That wasn't something that is just a rumor out there. That is something you can actually look up. So yeah, that is true. That is true. But I got to admit, I wouldn't, knowing how well they put that flashback together, there's a little part of me that's kind of like, I kind of want to see this.
I want to see it 100%.
Yeah.
Did I want it? No, but I'll pay a couple bucks a month.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
There's actually a complete different ending to 2018. I know it's out there because
yes, there is.
They call me the test screening people. They love me. Hey, Louis, I saw this and that. And it's like, the ending is totally different. I would love to see that. It's
me too. Me too.
Just to see it.
Jesus Freak Bobby Reeves sends in $1.99. Thank you, buddy. He says, I remember people laughing at the scream in H2O. Okay, so I'm not alone. Thank you for saying that. Yes, I thought the scream was I just didn't believe it. I thought it was a little overselling. Rad77 sends in $4.99 and says, now that Halloween Kills is out, what direction do you think Halloween Ends will go in? About time a Dave Mcrae Halloween Ends concept video? Oh, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I have interest in doing that. Well, Louis and I were just talking about that. I don't know. Halloween Kills ends in a way where you're kind of like, okay, they could do anything. And maybe that's the idea. Louis, do you feel that way? It's kind of like, okay. Like, I didn't hate the ending. I just was like, what are they going to do? I don't know.
I feel they painted, they're kind of like, remember I told you that before we started the stream, I feel like they're kind of painting Michael in a corner.
I get what you're saying. Like there's going to be a big reveal kind of, you think, maybe.
Yeah. Going a little bit, not as bad, but going cult. I do feel a little bit like just a little bit like that.
It's just because of the dialogue and sort of how they're.
Yeah, his mannerisms, what he does. Put it this way, I don't think Michael's gonna take Manhattan. I think he's in Haddonfield no matter what. Jesus Christ,
Jason didn't take Manhattan. He took a boombox in Times Square. That's all he took.
Yeah,
and then the rest of it was Vancouver here in Canada. That's funny. Where is it here? Okay. Nate A sends in $2 and says, will Loomis tell us how many times he shot Michael? I shot him 50 times. This man isn't human. No, I don't believe he does.
I will neither confirm or deny that happens, but we actually heard 8 shots this time instead of 7.
Yeah, 40 shots this time. 40 shots.
Yeah.
Oliver Mercer sends in £5. Thank you, Oliver. It says, hey, Dave, how about Michael Myers in the chair? I love my It's Me, Billy t-shirt. Can't wait for the Blu-rays. Are the hats being shipped out yet? Hats not yet. The winter hats, the winter toques, the toques as we call them here in Canada. They're coming. They're not shipped out yet, but I'm glad you like your t-shirt. Awesome. The Blu-rays are coming soon as well. In the chair. I'm not going to say anything.
No spoilers.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
Would that be a spoiler? Yeah.
Kind of, but not really. More of an expectation kind of thing. But yeah, I don't want to say anything. The More You Know sends in $5 and says, how dumb do you think the characters are in this movie and their approach of facing Michael Myers? I heard there's a lot of dumb mob characters. It depends on what your definition is of dumb. I think there's a little just, I get why people think it feels a little disjointed and forced. I get it. Lewis is one of them, right?
Dude, scale 1 to 10, 17. There's some dumb stuff in
there. You go. Bro. There you go.
Like really dumb.
But really don't listen to us. Go watch it and judge it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. And please, folks. Again, after I watched a couple of times, I might have some harsh things to say about some other stuff. You never know, right? I'm just going on. It's first impressions, right? First impressions. And I had a good time. Matthew Ferresi.
The execution for the mob.
Right.
I didn't like it. I didn't buy it.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. No
okay.
worries there. Okay. Let's see here. Matthew Fressy sends in $4.99. Just says for the channel. Thank you, Matthew. Real Reveal sends in $5. Says, is it the same opening as H18 with the pumpkin rising? How you did rising? How did you find the score? Were you happy with the ending or mad? Well, all of that would be giving, well, yes, very happy with the score. Don't want to talk about the opening credits because I want you guys to experience that for yourself. And happy with the ending or mad, it's neither here nor there. I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, not sure how, okay, yeah. It's kind of like that. What about you, Lewis?
Couldn't agree more about both things. I fear that maybe the reason because we do know, well, I don't want to spoil it, whatever. I was okay with the ending, but maybe it's because I'm not that encouraged to see what comes next. I'm not that enthusiastic about it. Maybe.
Right.
And stuff. Regardless of spoilers, some people think the movie poster is a spoiler. So I'm trying to be very careful juggling everything.
Listen, I don't care anymore. I don't give a frog's fat ass what people can say. This is my house. And if you're coming into my house, then, I'm not going to be ridiculous. And there are things we all can agree would be obvious spoilers, right? Characters who show up that you didn't already know about. I'm not saying there are, I'm just saying, right? That would be a spoiler. Characters who die, that would be a spoiler. Some sort of humongous twist that you didn't see coming that is, integral to the the foundation of the direction of the series and whatever. Yes, that's a spoiler. Michael walking from A to B, or a line, or somebody getting out of a car, or the fact that somebody's wearing a fucking, trick or treat, shamrock mask or whatever. That's not, get out of here. I am so tired. Everybody, there are people that live in this world that think like you said, the poster's a spoiler, and it's like, I'm sorry. You're far too sensitive, with all due respect.
Yes.
Own it. That's fine. But for me, I can't, because I'm a communicator, and in case you haven't noticed, it's very hard for somebody like me to talk about anything without talking about at least something. So, I'm not going to tell you who dies. I'm not going to tell you who shows up. I'm not going to tell you if there's a twist or not or whatever, but I am going to talk about, certain things, you know, and shots
and
things like that.
And that's nice of you, because the people on my channel who complain about when I do a spoiler-free review and there's really no spoilers in it or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be mean, but why are you watching channels that report on why are you
That's just
seeking out this information? Why are you?
Listen,
yeah, so
you posted your review before I went and saw the movie. Did I watch? Listen, I like you. I watch you. Did I watch it? No, because I wanted to go watch the movie first. Guys, it's not rocket science. Have some willpower. Have some self-control. You have nobody to blame but yourself. You know what I mean? Now, if you're watching a non-spoiler review and I have this little thing up here on the screen that says I don't have that up on the screen. Excuse me. I don't have that up on the screen. But I do have, maybe I have something that says no spoilers, and the thumbnail says no spoilers, and the title says, and I'm a jackass. And I, in the middle of the stream says, you know, something like, and guess what? So-and-so just dies out of nowhere. And listen, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a douchebag. That was low. And then you can blame me. You know what I'm saying? But I mean,
absolutely.
Other than that, guys, have some self-control. Know that when you walk, if you are sensitive to spoilers, like anything is a spoiler, like knowing the color of his shoelaces are a spoiler or something, right? If that's your threshold, well, then don't watch until you've seen the movie. And if you are going to come in here, you have nobody to blame but yourself. It's too much mental energy to try to curve everybody's interpretation of a spoiler. You know what I mean? You can't do it. Okay, back to the super chats here. Where are we? Here we are. It was Real Reveal. And then Anthony Bazzuto sends in $4.99 and says, is there anything as pitiful as the Sartain turn in this film? Okay, well, like Lewis and I were talking about earlier, there is a moment in the movie for Lewis and I, maybe not for you, that felt a little well, for me, Lewis, it bothered him more than it did me, but on first watch, right? But I acknowledge that yes, there is something that feels a little sidesteppy, but it wasn't a Sartain moment. Like it wasn't that. To me, it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. It just felt more like, oh, why are we doing this? I wonder where this is going. It kind of felt like maybe a bit of filler, maybe, that didn't need to be there. But you understand what happens at the end of it, why it's there. But it still felt like, oh, we could have done without it. Like there's something that's, maybe you'll be able to recognize it, maybe you won't, because maybe you won't feel that way. There is something like that, but there isn't a Sartain moment, in my estimation. Lewis?
Sartain was more coherent to the story. I think it drove the story, like it or not. It moved it forward. I think this did a Tron bike and sidestepped the tire.
Oh, well, fair. I didn't like the Sartain moment. I thought it wasn't organic. But it was part
of the story. This thing doesn't feel like it is, right?
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Okay, you see this movie, it's going this way, it's going this way. Bam! Sartain was like, it's going this way. I don't like this choice, but it's still going. I understand what you're saying. So what Lewis is saying yes. So again, nuance people. Yes. So Lewis is not saying he liked the Sartain twist. He's saying that I didn't like that, but it still felt part of the same story. I get that. I do understand that. Whereas this feels a little more, it's not as bad as a Sartain twist, but it feels kind of like, well, like I said, filler, where it kind of doesn't really need to be there. I understand what you're saying. And I can get behind that. Sartain is kind of a little better off after this film.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, here's the thing. I actually like the Sartain character.
If he's in it or not, I don't know if he's in it or not.
I actually like the Sartain character. I just didn't like what they did with him. And I thought it was completely unnecessary because all you had to do was have Allison escape the car, run into the woods, and run to Grandma's house like, Goldilocks. Okay. You didn't need Sartain to drive them there. I get that there's this subplot for his, not subplot, but I understand his motivations and I get what they were doing. I just didn't believe it. It was
a Rob Zombie moment. Sartain was, not Rob Zombie, Halloween 6, The Curse, where someone's protecting him.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Let's see. Nate Bra, Twitch clips and hopefully I'm saying that right. $5 says some of the one-liners feel so out of place. Like brackets. Other than that, I like the movie for what it is. So this is somebody who's seen the movie. So again, one-liners feel out of place. Lewis and I have been talking about that today. Brackets line, yeah, that's in the trailer, so that's not a spoiler. Of course, he says, it's Halloween. There's always it's Halloween. Everyone's had a one good scare. I think it should have been directed. Could have been. I get what you're saying. How did you feel about that line, Lewis?
I thought it was fine. I think you have to watch it during the movie to kind of
you got to get the context.
It wasn't that bad. No, there's much worse, ladies and gentlemen.
There's much worse,
in my opinion. Yeah, like real bad.
By the way, guys, evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. Evil. Oh, people will be inebriated by the end of it.
Well, yeah, your liver will be destroyed, and by the end of the. You'll have liver damage.
That's it. That's it. Matthew Ferreira sends in $4.99, says, I personally believe Michael is evil for the sake of being evil. Also, do you think this worked as a second part of a trilogy, like it being dark? In that sense, yes. I mean, it is definitely darker tonally, thematically, than the 2018 movie, for sure. It is darker. It's gorier. There's a higher body count. There's more blood and kills. It's a darker film for sure. The whole movie takes place at night. We don't see daylight. So, we saw a lot of daylight in the H-18 film. So, it's a darker film. And, the fact that it is the second act of a 3-act play may also be part of the problem. Like, knowing that there's another installment may be part of the problem as well, because you're watching the movie knowing there's going to be another one already. So it feels unfinished. It feels kind of like, we still need to wrap up this story. So, I will say that that it works. I mean, I don't think it's Empire Strikes Back level, but I certainly think that it does feel like a middle chapter, but that also could be because we already know that it is as well. How do you feel about that, Lewis?
I gotta agree. Yeah, I agree with you. Is it a second act of a movie though? Well,
we got to judge it as a whole. We got to feel like it does end on a dark note. See, I will say that in terms, and when I say dark note, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it ends like, how The Last Jedi ends on a very positive note, and I said many times, I said, when you're structuring a 3-act play, usually the second film is the darkest for our protagonists and it doesn't end well. That's not a spoiler. It's just that's usually how 3 acts go. And then the third act is the redemption. Well, The Last Jedi ended, I mean, yes, I know that the rebels were, they're in the ship and all this kind of stuff, and Luke's dead and all that. Okay, fine. But it ended on Broom Boy and about hope and prosperity and the future. And it just felt like it was the end of the movie or the series. I just didn't feel like I didn't care about watching what happened next. With Halloween Kills, and this is not a spoiler, it ends on a dark note, but it's supposed to. We know that. It's the second act. So that's good, so it makes sense that way. But I guess we really have to judge it to see when the next film comes out. You know what I mean?
Is it going to be next year?
It's going to be next year, next Halloween.
For sure.
Yeah. Well,
I have a bad feeling there's going to be a delay, bro.
I've got a bad feeling about it. Well, they're shooting in January for an October 2022 release. So we don't have that long to go, folks.
Yeah, I could see some people saying, oh, man, it's incomplete. But I was fine with it. But beware, it could be because I wasn't, the storyline's not that interesting.
It's incomplete, but it's incomplete because there's still more to come. Yeah. So that's why.
And will I be there opening night?
Yes.
Yeah, for the next one. Hell yeah.
Of course. Absolutely. 100%.
100%.
And you know what? Maybe this will be the balanced film. I mean, you got H-18 that didn't feel like Halloween to me at all. You have H-Kills, which felt more like Halloween to me, but was rubbing a lot of people the wrong way with some of the story beats and points and all this kind of stuff, which again, I totally can see. Maybe Ends will be that balance, where most of us walk out going, that was pretty good. You know what I mean? Because maybe they're able to kind of, You know, I don't know. We'll see.
We may look back at this one and say, wow, that was amazing. Like that now that it's all like Fellowship of the Ring for me. I was not impressed until I saw the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. And now that's my favorite. And I love Lord of the Rings.
That's it.
I love the other two films. And maybe, you know, they're
because you're able to see it within its context.
Planned.
Yeah.
Right. Correct.
David Coe sends in $4.99, says maybe David Gordon Green was hinting that COVID was going to be what ultimately kills Michael Myers. No, I think it's, again, I would assume that they're not going to play it outright and that everybody's going to have to be wearing masks in the movie because there's a virus. I assume that it's a metaphor in the fact that Michael is like a virus, right? That he's killing everybody. And, you know, I assume that's what they're going to do, but who the hell knows? I have no idea.
I know what they're going to do. Michael's going to be the only one that survived because he's the only one that wore the mask.
I see what you did there. I like it. I like it.
Joke.
I like it. I like it. No, that's okay. Rio Reveal sends in $2.79, says, I see that it's me, Billy phone in your backdrop, Dave. Love it. It's me, Billy phone. When I was leaning the other way. Yes, that's the phone that Victoria had at the end of the movie. Yeah. Oh, it's there. It sits in my place here. Andy Spark sends in $2 and says, how much do the trailers give away? Well, again, it depends on what your threshold is of a spoiler and to give away. They show a lot, but they don't show you everything. Listen, Andy, if you have yet to see a trailer, dude, you're at the finish line. Don't watch the trailer. Just go watch the movie tonight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like really just do that. I mean, you've made it this far. Just go watch the trailer or the film. You know what I mean?
We believe in you.
Yes, I believe you have the willpower to do it.
You can do it.
You can do it. Will Oxley, I think this might be the last one, sends in $4.99, says, how do you feel about the lighting atmosphere of the whole film? Well, like I said, it's most impressive in the flashback because they had to recreate to a T at the very least within the 99 or 95 to 99 percentile, the feeling and the look of the 1978 original. Now, obviously, because this was shot digitally and not on 35 millimeter film, and the production value of the film in terms of its quality looks modern, but it looks like a period piece. Like it looks like any movie you would watch with like a period piece. Like if you watch The Changeling with Angelina Jolie, or you go to watch, what's the one coming out now with Spielberg. Why the fuck am I blanking on it? The
West
musical.
Side Story.
West Side Story. Thank you. You watch the trailer. That takes place in like the 50s or the 60s. Yeah, it looks like the production value, the quality of the image looks modern, but it looks like it takes place in that time frame. Same thing here. The quality of the image looks modern because I believe it was shot digitally. I don't think they would have. The rest of the film was shot that way. I don't think they would have switched to 35 mil, although that would have been interesting for the flashback. It looks, I don't know if they added any grain to it. I didn't see it when I was watching the movie. I'll have to watch it again. So it looks modern, but it looks good. It's like, I believe this. Wow, well done, guys. This is cool. You've done a really good job at making me believe this is 78. The rest of the movie, I personally, from what I remember, I thought that, again, they did a better job with the lighting and the mood and the atmosphere on creating that Halloween feel in the rest of the movie in terms of those really important moments than they did in H-18. That's how I feel about it.
I got to tell you, I was looking for grain in the flashbacks.
Were you?
And
okay.
I saw it on the AMC theater, and I don't know if the projection has anything to do with it or could change the visuals or whatever, if it was digital or what. There was no grain. I was specifically looking for that.
Okay.
It didn't look like film to me.
Okay. Yeah. No, I doubt it was.
But yeah, it didn't look like film. Sometimes, you get like a Nolan movie that does look like film. Or
right. I get you.
Yeah. So
yeah, I get you. Okay. So we got to wrap this up here, folks.
No!
Broad. Yeah, I gotta pee and I got some voiceover work I got to do.
Oh yeah. No.
But don't worry, Luis and I, listen, I'm going to have him on the show again soon. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
And I will be talking spoilers probably after the weekend as well. So that'll be good. Nay Bra Twitch Clips and Let sends in $2, says, spoiler, Michael walks a straight line and kills. I love it. That was funny. That was good. Touche. Frank Riker sends in $5, says, for the sexy MFers in the chat. Thank you very much, Frank. And Matthew Ferreira sends in $4.99, says, I feel like Sartain was supposed to be like a MIB Win character, like a power-hungry psychopath trying to control Michael. Well, I think to a certain point that's true. His motives were very different from Dr. Loomis, and he truly believed in more of the science of the aspect, and he wanted to see Michael and Laurie in their natural habitat. I just didn't believe in the twist. I just didn't believe it. I didn't buy into it. But that's me. All right. I think we're. Well, Frank's telling me. Did I miss any, Frank? Oh, wait. Will Oxley, how do you feel about the lighting? No, I got that one. Andy Sparks, how much of the trailers give away? I got that one. I think I've got it all. Oh, no, there were two super chats that came in. Thank you, Frank. Yesterday, when I was doing the live stream that I didn't get while Bruce and I were live. So let me just get those two when we were live from downtown Toronto yesterday. And they would have been these last two here, which was Chris Baber sends in $4.99, says biscuits and gravy. Love it, Chris. And Oliver Mercer sends in £5 and says, hey, Dave and Bruce, how about Michael Myers in the chair? Well, you asked that today, and I can't give it away. So, so thank you, Frank, for reminding me of that. And thank you to Chris and Oliver. Really awesome stuff. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it. Luis, stick around after we go off, and then we'll have more of a formal goodbye. But that is going to do it for myself here on episode 200 of Mcrae Live. Luis, thank you so much for coming on today and giving me your thoughts and how you feel about the movie. This was a lot of fun to talk this through. I'll be very curious to see if your feelings change and the more watches you watch of it, and mine as well. Fascinating stuff. Where can people find you online, Luis? And feel free to drop that shit into the chat, and I will make sure to drop I didn't put them there yet, but I will make sure to drop your links into the description as well.
Well, you guys obviously are going to know exactly who I am in the future because Dave's made me an official co-host here, and I'm very excited. Right. Thank you, Dave.
Official.
But checks in the mail correctly.
Wait.
It's Nerd Report. Just give it a search. Nerd Report. It's simple as it looks on screen. I give my honest opinion, and I want you guys to come in and also support Mad Monster, which is a place I help promote. I don't know if you know that, Dave. Mad Monster Con. The next one's in Charlotte, North Carolina on February 18th.
Amazing.
Just want to give a shout out to them. This is the first time people hear about it. I think James Jude Courtney will be there. So I think this is the first time they drop it. So a little bit of an exclusive, maybe not. So there you go.
Amazing. And
Mad Monster.
Awesome. And Darren, yes, Darren, thank you, Darren. I've got it, Darren. Darren, I missed a super chat. How did I do that? It's because I don't have any glasses on. Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast sends in £5. Thank you, Darren, and says, do you think the Halloween Kills production learned anything from their experience with Halloween 2018? Does H Kills improve its pedigree in any specific areas? Well, that's a great question. And like I've been saying this whole time, and like I've been saying sort of on my tweets, I do believe that this feels, even in the modern shit, feels more in line aesthetically with the tone and the lighting and the mood and the atmosphere, and even some really genuine moments of suspense. There's one in particular that you're going to find. And are you seeing it today, Darren? I'm not sure when you're seeing it. Maybe it's tomorrow. I'm anxious to talk to you about it. Where I was like, I like this. I think they did a better job of this than they did in the 18 film. So yes, I do believe there were certain things that they improved on in that area. I think there's, and again, I'm not saying the whole film is peppered with it. We're talking about in comparison to the 18 film. I think there is more suspense in this movie. I think there's more moments of genuine tension in this movie, right? In comparison to what we had. And that pleased me. So I do think that they improved they improved on that overall. I think it's better. I think it's better. But like Lewis has been saying, with that also comes some clunky things in there. And so I'll be interested to see, and I acknowledge they're there. I do. I acknowledge they're there. I just had to put them in the back of my head so I could enjoy the movie. So I'll be curious to see how I feel on the second watch. But did you feel that though?
I believe, look, I will say this. Look, did they learn from the new one, from the old one to the next one? Maybe with our criticism and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, Blumhouse is a smaller studio, even though I feel like they treated this franchise in particular like corporate.
Right.
And look, our criticism comes from the love of the franchise.
That's
we
right.
want it to be better. It's not because we hate it or we want to do. We want it. We see these little things, and maybe they can improve. It's because we love it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's
right.
the way I look at it. I
see. Yeah.
What a great crowd you have here, Dave.
Oh, they're amazing. My viewers are outstanding. Everybody is amazing.
Yeah, congrats, bro.
I think we peaked at over 500 in here. It's great. People are amazing. No, it's great stuff. And thank you to my mods, of course, my great mods, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber for keeping the chat flowing. And thank you again for for those of you that have seen the film, not putting any spoilers in the chat. Thank you for that as well. That's great. I mean, you're only a short time away. Allow people to have the experience you had, for better or worse. Allow people to have the experience for you had, better or worse. And listen, if you saw the movie and this is your favorite Halloween, celebrate it, own it, be proud of it. There's nothing wrong with it. I have to let these things marinate a bit and see how I feel overall. But that is going to do it for Lewis and I here. Episode 200. Again, Lewis, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming in. Stick around. We'll have more of a formal goodbye. And everybody in the chat, thank you for sticking around. And look out for a spoiler review probably after the week. And that'll do it for us. Any last things you want to say before we skedaddle?
Man, no. This is the best Halloween and horror channel around, in my opinion.
There's a lot of good ones out there, man, but I appreciate you saying that.
There's a lot of good ones, and they're all good. This is my favorite one. This is what I'm going to say.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. That means a lot. All right, folks, we'll talk to you soon. In the meantime and in between time, cheers.
Cheers.